Oh, yay.
Oh, yay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another AMA at the Wolves of Wall Street. My name is Nexus. I will be your host for today's event, and today it is my honor, pleasure, and privilege to bring you DUCATA, a world first in programmatic money. Representing DUCATA, we have Sifu, who is this what I would describe as the chief engineer and architect of this protocol, and his dear associate Spicy Berries. How are you guys doing today?
Very well, thank you.
I'm doing all right. The sun is shining. I'm doing all good with the sun on my face right now. So.
All right. Well, with that, guys, before we get into the meat, I want to ask you both to tell us anything that you'd like us to know to help get to know you and your team.
Well, Spicy.
Yeah, should I take that one? Well, yeah, you already introduced Sifu as our chief engineer and the brain. I usually call him the brains behind the protocol, but he's also our CEO and founder. His real name is Patrick. He is not the Sifu that you might associate getting scammed with. That's not what we're doing here. Just to start off the AMA with no scams. He started about 6 years ago with an idea after being semi-retired for, 2 years? And that was already too much at too young age. So he decided, I'm going to solve another problem. And that problem in this case was money. The root, I like to say, of many other problems. And I don't think there's any other way to solve a great deal of problems in the world without actually solving money. Well, he set out to do that about 6 years ago, and now we're all here. We're a growing team. I see some of our team members in the audience as well. I'm the head of community. My real name is FIAT. Call me Spicy Berries.
And thanks to the rest of the team for joining us as well. If you guys see any questions or anything like that you want to answer, don't hesitate. No problem.
Love that. No, it's been really fun. I've been with DUCATA now since last year, October. And I feel like I finally understand the protocol until Patrick comes up with another update. And he's like, oh, that's how this works. And I'm like, wait, I thought I understood that, but I didn't. But that's getting less and less. So yeah, we're also improving a lot of our communication so that it isn't as hard for people to grasp what we're actually doing. Patrick is working on a white paper, which we'll hopefully be able to share a preview very soon. But that's kind of where we're at. New money, programmatic money, you already said it in your intro for us. It's completely separate from the actual system that we're stuck to now. And it is the first official way to actually exit the system. Of course, we all know crypto, we can exit to crypto, but there isn't a stable value asset out there that is not connected to the current system. So that's what programmatic money is. It's entirely new, entirely on-chain, entirely autonomous. There is no government pressing a printing button. Patrick is not pressing a printing button. So I am not. No one's pressing buttons except for the automated market operator, but we'll get into all the details, I'm sure, with your questions, Nexus. Is that good? Did I miss anything? Is there anything else you'd like to know right off the bat?
Well, I always ask the intro question generally to sort of ask the more the lighter personal question. I always get that right out of the way out front, just to get to know you guys and give the community an impression of what you guys are up to. And frankly, you answered my second question at the same time, which was, what, in your own words, is programmatic money? But there's a second component to that question. Why isn't something like Ethereum, Solana, or any other smart contract empowering gas token also a form of programmatic money? What differentiates DUCA and DUCATA from the gas coins, essentially?
So I think that just goes already to the meat of the matter, indeed, to what is money. And I would like to basically fall back to the three traditional, well-known pillars or attributes that make money to be money, which is the unit of account, the store value, and medium of exchange. These three, there are a few others also important, but these three attributes you need to have from an economic perspective to actually speak about something called money. Now, if we look at obviously Bitcoin, but let's look at any other coins you just refer to or crypto asset in that sense, then it's pretty clear that the medium of exchange we excel in. Also, depending if you really want to get nitty gritty, how do we actually understand and refer to the medium of exchange? But let's take it as a technical attribute. Then this is of course peer-to-peer. This is amazing. This is the fundament, of course, why we are here. The fundament Bitcoin, of course, brought into this world. So we can tick that box. Now, when we go to store value, we can obviously see that there's, for example, a difference between an ETH Bitcoin and a meme coin, for example. Some of the assets we could consider, or some would consider, a store value and others not. Even that box we can tick, right? Is there a use case? Is there demand, especially for utility tokens, etc.? We can all reason through that one. So we can tick that box as well. But then we get to the unit of account. And now it gets a bit problematic, because what is the unit of account? The unit of account is basically something that indicates that it can be used as a stable reference value. And I already throw in stability, because it's an important bit. Because if it's not stable, however we think about what stability is, you can't really use it as a reference. So let's just, and we all know this, but we are so used to it because we've brought up in this world where we're confronted with it on a daily basis. So it's so obvious, but still to state the obvious so that we're all on the same page. The unit of account is important, especially for example, long-term agreements or reference values. So I always like to take the example of, for example, a rental agreement. Let's rent an office, let's rent a house, let's rent something, which is an agreement that, for example, lasts for 5 or 10 years. You need to negotiate and agree upon a price to be paid. Okay, so what is that price going to be? How are you actually going to understand each other on what that is, that price, and that value that that price represents? Now, if we are based in a dollar geography or a euro-based space, then we can say, okay, I'm going to rent this apartment and it's going to cost me 1,000 or 2,000 euros or dollars a month, and that's going to happen until the contract expires, etc. We are very comfortable with that. Why are we very comfortable with that? Because basically dollar, euro are considered stable, and most definitely stable enough to be comfortable to make such an agreement. But still, if you are sort of intelligent, you make sure that you've got ways to upgrade that price, for example, based on CPI data or inflation data. Why? Because the knowledge already is there that you've got this reference value, this dollar or this euro, and that thing is stable, but somehow it isn't, because in 5 or 10 years time from now, that $1 or that €1 is not the same as it was when you started the agreement, the arrangement. So then indexation is a very common tool to kind of maintain the original intent or to have the original value substantiated throughout the term of this contract. Now, already nice details and all kind of little interesting bits in there. The thing is, the unit of account makes it possible to do so and to have kind of a predictable future value. Now, what's going to happen if we do the same, but instead of saying it's going to be 1,000 or 3,000 euros, you're going to say, well, let's make it 1 ETH, or let's make it 0.1 Bitcoin. How comfortable are we now making such a contract? Now, some people will say, I'm very happy to make that contract as long as people are paying me. I mean, it would be great to, for example, to do it then in Bitcoin, but is the other party also really going to be happy with that? Are you going to take on a rental agreement that says, well, you have to pay 0.1 Bitcoin every month? I'm not particularly attracted to that kind of idea. And I think many people wouldn't be very attracted to that idea. What does this indicate? Because same for Solana, ETH, you name it. What does it indicate? That the value, the unit that you're actually talking about, isn't a unit of account. And that is an essential bit when we start talking about money. And this is the key thing that we want to get fully on-chain, fully native, no externalities around that one. And that's the thing DUCA has solved, to have a stable value that can be used as a unit of account, but is totally crypto native, without any exogenous collateral, any externality. So it's real money, programmatic money, and it ticks all 3 boxes. And the unit of account, that's so far the hardest one to tackle, where we are now. So I took a long
interesting. Yes, you did take a long route, but you definitely covered it. All right, my next question. I described DUCATA to the community initially as a 3-pronged system, but I'm kind of oversimplifying it in terms of the tokenomics. It has 3 tokens, DUCA, DCM, and LPD, but each of these serve a very specific role. Can you please explain as simply as possible what each of those roles is?
Sure. So if we put it straight away within a bit of the context of why are there 3 tokens and not 2, which is of course a very common structure to do so. Especially if we start to think about algorithmic kind of solutions, then there's basically a very fundamental problem when you would use 2 tokens. And that is that you've got a symbiotic relationship in place between the 2 tokens. One token is used to create the other and also to stabilize the other. If one goes down, the other one goes with it because of their symbiotic relationship. Very simple, very well known by now.
We saw it with more than one project. I mean, most famously was Terra-Luna.
What's that, Terra-Luna? Yeah, sure, exactly. So it's, there's a nice chapter in the history books. Clear, it went bad. Why? Not acknowledging or understanding this symbiotic relationship. So one of the key things that you need to accomplish if you want to create a structure that is based on endogenous collateral / try to create stability without making use of exogenous collateral is to deal with this symbiotic relationship in a way that it isn't there. Doesn't mean there's nothing. No, it means that this relationship which can create a death spiral, so to say, isn't in place. Now, the way how we do that is by adding a 3rd token, so that the symbiotic relationship you want and we create is between the 2 utility tokens. Okay, technically they're all 3 utility tokens, but we're now talking about DCM and LPD. They should have a nice symbiotic relationship, but not with DUCA, the stable asset, or what we call programmatic money. So this is why we need those 3. DUCA is the thing called programmatic money. That's the purpose of the whole structure, obviously. Key characteristics is that it maintains purchasing power. So there's something very interesting happening with the value or the exchange value of DUCA. I'm sure we're going to get to that one as well, because we're not pegging here. This is a big thing. So we're not pegging, we're doing something else here. And the outcome, the value that we're aiming for, maintains purchasing power, which is a thing on its own. Next to that, we've got generating yield. Sustainable yield, fully sustainable, coming from the incentive structure of the protocol, can be seen, can be registered, no inflation, nothing, no voodoo happening there, which is another key attribute to support a financial power or financial quality, USPs, give it a name, of DUCA. Then to make this all possible, we've got DCM and LPD. DCM is the utility token that kind of is the fundament for everything else. So whatever you want to do, if you want to create DUCA, if you want to create LPD, DCM is always needed. So DCM is the thing that will be in demand if the protocol is in demand. If DUCA is in demand, if you want LPD, DCM is the thing. That is the key thing about DCM. It's needed everywhere. LPD is the pool token of the stability pool. It is a pool token. And it's also based on DCM because after all, DCM is the thing that will be in this stability pool. I'm sure we're going to go into details of that one. But that's LPD. And its value is based on DCM in combination with the LP rate, which is just one of the normal key ways how you determine value of a pool token. That's the short introduction. So we've got DCM LPD supporting the protocol where DUCA is in that sense the purpose.
Okay. And say I was to engage in the pre-sale like right now. What of these three would I actually be buying?
DCM. So DCM is in that sense the only token that can't be created within the protocol. So that will be based on a very high maximum supply. Now, on how we do distributions, it's also very different than what is normally done, because we want to work with a very low and limited circulating supply. And the only reason why this supply will increase is through demand, which pushes the price up and creates arbitrage opportunities to distribute more DCMs. This is all predetermined, so to say, not in the when, but in the, no, I say it differently. It's based on price. Let's keep it simple. So there will not be any increase in DCM unless the market value goes above this predetermined price levels in the distribution. So DCM can only come into being in that sense through purchase, and all the other tokens are being created by using DCM. So it's in that sense also DCM the one you want, because if everything else goes in demand, of course, then demand for DCM goes sky high. That's how the incentive structure is organized.
Okay, so we're hearing about a yield function and we're hearing about stable value over time. In the simplest of terms, what would you consider to be the success point? Like my protocol's working, it's generating a ton of yield, or DUCA and DCM are highly valued, highly utilized. Like what is the moment at which you would say, yes, we've hit our intended goal, the programmatic money is working?
It's an interesting question in how to indeed define. I've no problem producing a list of all the things that are possible and that would mark all kinds of success. Because one of the things, I mean, Spicy gave the introduction about me coming back from kind of an early retirement and trying to think of, okay, so what's actually now going to happen next? One more nice thing, one big thing. How big should it be? Well, let's make it as big as possible. Why? This was then the question. Because we're going to do something that has maximum social impact. Of course, it's nice to create a business for making money. Nothing wrong with that. But why not focus on having maximum social impact to add maximum amount of value for as much people as possible and make nice money on the side at the same time? Because I couldn't at that point believe that if you would add actually so much value, that a business model wouldn't also come into being. Now, that's kind of how this whole thing started. By seeing how much, I mean, I already had a background and interest in finance, money. There was already a lot present. Of course, it was nothing compared to where I'm now after 6 years, but there was already quite an understanding that something wasn't quite functioning as good as it could be. Turned out to be a lot worse than I thought even. But that's where we started. So if you look at that as our original mission, as our original intent, then reaching those people and offering them a solution that has a life-changing impact, that's what I would call success. And that's more important than market cap, sky-high prices, already well-off investors being even more well-off. All great. But having this solution, going through the whole process to get that solution into the hands of the people who really need it, that would be the real defining factor as far as I'm concerned, where success is concerned. But there's much more, because seeing the size of the proposition that we're now talking about, programmatic money, hasn't been done before, at least not in according to my criteria. Seeing what that would bring and could bring into this world. So already having that live, even though maybe only those here in the chat, for example, and a small group more, a few hundred people being excited about it, using it, would mean nothing in terms of market cap or traction, whatever. But the fact that it's there and that it has a value, even in those small numbers, is already a major milestone and a major success, because something has been done that hasn't been created before and hasn't been done before. The thing is, part of the design is that it works then also. So this is another one which is very important for me personally, because of it marks the completion of a journey of 6 years. So that's pretty intense on its own. But if we make it more simple, if you would say, okay, let's use metrics that we all know, let's use stablecoin market cap, for example, then yeah, would be great to become the biggest decentralized stablecoin as a nice marking moment. Let's take over DAI. Let's go into the 5, 6, 7 billion market cap. Oh wait, let's get on a trajectory to, in a way, go beyond the fiat-pegged stablecoins. But even when that is done, the real end goal is, of course, to become real money, not only technically, but also in market cap. And then you need to scale into the trillions. And that's really taken along in the design and in the design criteria of the protocol to allow for that possibility to happen. Which again makes it so difficult to accomplish it, because you're just adding more problems to allow, or how do you say that? To you add more complexity to your design.
Yeah, the more complex the system, the more possible choke points and failure points and security risks it can appear, certainly.
Right? Yeah, but also limitations in what you can and can't do. Because if you want to scale to this size or be able to scale, you can't use exogenous collateral. You can't do nice delta neutral stuff, because the market
that's the
you
stuff
need.
I like.
Yeah, well, have fun with it, but it's not useful if you want to create a very viable real currency. That's just not possible.
You're
You
correct,
can't
yeah.
use. So that's the added complications. Yeah, to do what we have done.
Okay, we've done a little bit of comparing to Terra-Luna in the early moments of the conversation, but I guess the question then becomes, with stuff like MakerDAO and Terra-Luna, they had this algorithmically backed balancing mechanism that didn't really work. And I guess the question is, what differentiates DUCA explicitly from something like that?
Yeah. Essential question to answer. Also to stay out of jail, by the way.
Yes.
Can go really wrong, right?
Already risking it with the name.
So I'll just ignore that one. Yes, now the first bit is where I started with the symbiotic relationship. May sound a bit technical and vague, but it's very fundamental. It's the symbiotic relationship within the Terra-Luna model that created the death spiral. I mean, it's even more simple than that, but that's one of the fundamental problems. I don't think we need an analysis, at least I assume, about what was really wrong with Terra-Luna, but this is a key thing. But it's not the only thing. If only. No. It's much more complex. Basically, the difference is made on 3 different points. One, we spoke about the triple token economy to break the symbiotic relationships. That's one. The second is that you need an incentive structure within the protocol that is, in that sense, autonomous and has integrity, and basically should not depend on user actions. What do I mean by that? If you base your model, for example, on certain forms of arbitrage, or that users need to perform a certain transaction for a reward X, and therefore the model stabilizes, and you think people will do that the moment that there's a bank run going on, that goes wrong. There's many theoretic ideas about stabilizing mechanisms, but they often fail because they expect humans always to behave rationally. That's the thing that goes out of the window.
You're right. The rational market hypothesis.
It's the I don't even know that term. So, but yes.
It's a business school term. It generally refers to exactly what you mentioned, the assumption that every actor in a given market is going to behave rationally.
It's the most ludicrous thing ever, really. I mean, humans and rational behavior. Well, anyway, let's not get lost on that one. But yes, so let's take a bank run. Let's take the situation where everything goes sour. People run to the exit. So you can't depend on this rational behavior. Instead, you need to have an incentive structure that can be operated automatically based on the criteria at hand via the protocol itself. That's part of the definition of what I mean with autonomy, that the protocol can take control or take its destiny into its own hands, I like to say, and maintain its integrity. The third thing and last thing that's very important is the lender of last resort. This basically means that there always should be an end possibility, an end measure that can be done. And yes, they are painful, they're dramatic, they're drastic, but you need to have this thing in place, which when everything has failed, which is a given that it will happen at some point, you've got a way to recover that and to rebound from there. And these 3 things are what create this different model and basically a different reality that is totally different to a, let's Terra-Luna model. I mean, Terra-Luna I can explain in one sentence. You've got a mint and burn mechanism. You
That's
throw in
right.
Terra, you get USD back. If you want to get USD back, you burn that one, you get Luna back. That's the whole model. That's it, and
That's it.
that won't work. That won't work.
No, it did not. And that leads directly into my next question. Complex systems such as smart contracts often introduce unforeseen vulnerabilities. With the algo stablecoins of last cycle, abusive usage of mint and burn functions, as well as over-centralized smart contract controls, were often to blame. What security precautions are being taken by DUCATA to ensure the protection not only of protocol-owned funds, but user-managed funds as well? And I'd bundle into that protecting both itself and its users from malicious actors intent on abusing development-related functions through any possible means, including malware, social engineering, wallet phishing, or more.
Okay, so we can approach this from different angles.
Please, it's a complicated question that encompasses a lot of security concerns.
Yeah, I also need to think about where to start, what can be done, what can't be done. I mean, I think it's obvious that personal assets, what everybody does personally with their keys and all that stuff, that's out of reach. So there clearly needs to be, well, let's put it.
Well, there's a lot of bad actors trying to socially engineer their way onto your dev squad, for example. That would be one obvious attack vector, is that, oh, a guy hits you up and says, oh, I'm a savvy smart contract developer, but he's not. He's a bad guy.
So of course you need to deal with multi-sig stuff as a basic starting point, so that there's never one person who has full control. That's more or less like a given, obviously. So in that sense, the more how should we put it? The more people that are needed to actually execute, in that sense, the more safety there is. But there's a trade-off, of course, as well. Yeah, but that's the simplest answer I can say. On another level, of course, your code base needs to be well and developed, of course, with the right standards and the right safety measures in place. Now, that is one thing, of course, that has high priority, for sure. And this is where audits come into being as well, so that you don't just have your own ideas and your own devs looking at it. It's also being audited through a third party. So that provides this extra level of security, which is needed. From there, you can obviously go into bug bounty kind of stuff to add those layers as well, because the more secure you are, the better there is. More people there are incentivized to find problems, the stronger or the more solid your code base is going to become, obviously. There's a technical bit, but I definitely want to emphasize that there's also a very practical bit. That is, how is the protocol formed and designed? Because you mentioned the mint and the burn mechanism and the ways that are there to influence. This has been a key thing, and it is a key problem when you actually want decentralization. It's so easy to underestimate that one. It's a headache.
Very much so.
What has happened here is that we have, in a way, put the protocol into 3 bits, basically, or there are 3 core, how should I put it, divisions within the protocol. We've got the core protocol, which is really like an inner sanctum nuclear reactor kind of idea. This is where the magic happens. This is where no interference can happen. This is which should be isolated and no one can touch that thing. That's where minting and burning happens. That needs to be very much protected. How do we protect that? by making sure that all users can't touch that. We've got the DMM for that, which is the DUCA market maker, which is basically an automated market maker, but integrated within the protocol. So we use balancer code for that. They offer all these kind of niceties, so we don't have to develop that for ourselves. And what we have here is that we've got specifically composed liquidity pools to support all the functions basically that we need. I need to say the compositions of the pools make sure that the totality makes everything possible. So that there is USDC, because with USDC you can enter and you can take any native token out, and vice versa. So all combinations are different. What does this mean? This means that users, everybody, can only interact with liquidity pools that are pretty straightforward and sober. So you actually make use of the resilience of liquidity pools and what that entails. So influencing, or how should we put it, manipulation of the protocol becomes impossible in an effective way. Or, if I would put it more correctly, how we have designed it is, of course, you can manipulate, flash loans, the whole shebang. You can, of course, influence the values depending on the depthness of your pockets, so to say. You can influence there, but there is no way present, due to delays, how you can monetize that. So you can influence the market value of DCM, for example, which normally would mean if you would push the price lower, you could mint at a lower price, but you do not have the option to mint. You can't mint. It is the protocol that mints, and more specifically, it's the AMO, our automated market operator, that mints. And that mints under specific criteria and specific conditions. And there is no way for you as a malicious bad actor to take advantage of that, to monetize that. And I think this is the fundamental difference between what many other things do and how we add real security to our protocol by preventing all kinds of malicious behavior and manipulations of the essential smart contracts and interactions and processes within the protocol to shield that from users. And that's why we have the liquidity pools where everybody can go nuts, and you can bang on the liquidity pools whatever you want. The weighted pools, they just work the way they work. We all know that, I assume. And the automated market operator has a simple function. It balances where needed, and it provides a cushion. It has, in a way, exclusive access to the core protocol, and under predetermined, let's say, set of rules, smart contracts, obviously, it can interact. And that separation of power, may you will, provides a very high level of security and autonomy. Again, I love the words autonomy and integrity because it's true, because this setup maintains this autonomy, or to put it more exactly, the autonomy makes sure that the integrity is ensured of the protocol and its workings. And it goes even beyond, because I can only assume at some point people want to know things about short selling and that kind of behavior. Well, of course. Otherwise, so, but that's also part of it. So, but this is the fundament. This is how we have technically created separations to, in a way, limit or mitigate those kind of attack vectors.
Excellent.
I would like to add something
Please.
on a personal, well, not a personal, on a people perspective, because you mentioned, like, how do you know that when you're hiring a dev and he says I'm a smart contractor, super good. There's obviously also a thorough vetting process for anyone that joins the team. Patrick mentioned the fail safes with multisig and that sort of thing. But I feel that it's also nice to mention that our CTO has a really large background in cybersecurity. That's basically been his thing for the past 20 years. So
Oh, we
He's
love that.
very, very heavy on keeping everything extremely secure. So secure that sometimes I don't know where I can edit the pages I need to be editing. So, which is a good thing because, of course, we need that security. So I think it's really nice to mention that it's not just safe or made safe from a technical perspective, but there's also people whose brains have been wired to think about the security throughout everything, which is,
Absolutely.
of course, great to have on the team.
Yeah.
In this day and
Thank you
age,
for that.
necessary. All right, gang. My last question, and then we're kicking it to the community questions. Let's say the pre-sale goes well. You hit your roadmap targets. The system is secure and working as intended. What's next for DUCATA after that?
World domination. Yeah, that's so much to look forward to.
Jail.
The thing.
No.
Oh God. Oh, so let's. Of course, we're very serious, but we also like to have fun. There are basically there's a lot going on, but three main things are very important. We will launch next month in the way we will launch, which means we've got a full focus on full decentralization. Obviously, the protocol is fully automated, but we already touched upon it. Multisig, we control, obviously. It's insane to launch truly fully decentralized, meaning that every decision needs to go via a DAO or some form of governance structure, and think you can actually handle problems efficiently in that way. It doesn't work. So there will be a centralized component there that gives us access and influence to make sure that everything works as according its design, and when problems occur, we can effectively solve them. Of course, this is not how you want it to be in an end scenario. So within a year, we want to go, and then hopefully early 2025, into fully decentralization, which means we need to build our governance structure. This is one of the three major projects that will start straight away after we have launched. Basically set up that structure. That's one thing. So second thing is we're launching on Ethereum mainnet. Now, Ethereum mainnet, we all know, fantastic, most secure, excellent, but those damn gas fees, right? A pain in the ass and a pain in your wallet. So headache, right? DeFi is on mainnet, so we should be on mainnet. That's pretty clear. But if you want to think about what we aim and what we want to achieve, take again, for example, people actually using this as a form of money. Take, for example, South America. Tron is doing an amazing thing there. I haven't checked the last few weeks, but last time I looked, there was 55 billion USDT on Tron, basically servicing our target audience. So we have a multi-chain strategy. I want to go to Tron as fast as possible to enter that market and to compete with USDT, because there's no other stablecoin there doing something except Justin Sun's USDD, which for some reason doesn't seem to take off. His Terra-Luna fork, I wonder why. Anyway,
there's a lot of problems with that.
So this is clearly an important thing. Multi-chain strategy. Why? We want to go where the traction is. We want to, of course, also make sure that things are possible with very low transaction fees, and that people can use it on the chain that they want to. I've got personal preferences, but that doesn't matter. We want to be able to reach everybody, basically. But the big thing, now this is all big, but the third one is the DUCATA bank. Go big or go home. So yes, we've got a very clear plan to make DUCA accessible to everybody, but clearly the friction that comes with crypto is not for everybody. It's hard to overstate this problem. So you need to have an answer for that. And this answer will, in a way, create use cases and potential specifically and initially for those in Europe, for example, to start somewhere, but no, so let's keep it simple to start here, so that you have the opportunity to store your wealth, not in our current banking system, so that the current banks start to invest, have a lot of fun, and put the risk on us as the community. But instead, you have a bank, DUCATA Bank, where you store your wealth. That wealth is now being stored in your wallet, your designated wallet within the bank. You can see what is there. You can see that your assets are going to be in there in DUCA. And whenever you pay for your coffee, your sandwich, or your restaurant, or your whatever, you can just do that using the fiat element in there. So it has two components. You've got some fiat component and your wallet with your DUCA. And from there, the bank's function is to kind of do the on-off ramping between crypto and between fiat, which means you've got a solution where your assets are stored in crypto, but you pay in fiat everywhere you want to go. So now you've got your crypto fully integrated into the normal financial system in the way you want to, without losing control or view on your own assets. And this is what I'm very excited about if you start speaking about adoption and mass adoption, because in this solution we take the best of both worlds. Of course, it's a regulated bank. Yes, regulation or slash centralization will be a bit of that, but your control, your focus, you have your own assets. It doesn't go into a financial system. You maintain your own authority or sovereignty over there, but you are fully plugged in into the financial system as you want to. So you have all the benefits, but not the risk. That's also planned for the coming year. And of course, if all is well, people think, yeah, but how in the hell are you going to do with that banking license? Very difficult. True, we're not going to start there, but there's a very huge offering currently, and it's getting very popular, and there's more and more happening with things like banking as a service. So there are many banks that provide already this service of white labeling bank, which basically means they do all the hard work, they do the KYC, they do all the licensing, and you can, in a way, cruise along on that license. And there are quite a few crypto friendly and focusing on the crypto space. And with those, we can actually have a relative simple product development going on to get a first MVP, minimal viable product out there. And that's a thing I can't wait to have my own card, to have my own IBAN, my own bank account connected to my wallet, where DUCA is there to store my wealth. That's big, because that's what I would call self-sovereign banking. That doesn't exist yet as well. And that's the second step in our journey, our roadmap from DUCA to banking to a new economic model.
Excellent.
I think important to add is, because you mentioned, of course, the bank is a form of centralization. That doesn't mean that the protocol, DUCA, is being centralized in any way. It's just that the bank uses DUCA as a store of value, as programmatic money. It doesn't make the protocol itself centralized in any way.
Very good addition indeed, because the protocol stands on its own, and it's basically the bank using or utilizing DUCA as an asset. And that's what everybody can do, by the way. But yeah, we're already very convinced. So of course we'll have a head start. But there's no unique position that the protocol gives to the bank in that sense. So it's a very important addition, that it is really separate, and it just indicates what is possible with DUCA as a composable building block, also for DeFi and beyond. And that's massive. That's massive.
Absolutely. All right, now it is time to kick it to the community questions. It actually took quite a bit longer to get through my set than I thought, but that's what happens sometimes. Our first community question comes from Rum Gone, who asks, You are using algorithmic stabilization to control the value of DUCA. Can you be absolutely certain that it will not collapse under extreme market conditions like US Terra did? It reached a huge market cap before people realized it was flawed despite having a lot of attention.
I can't even give the answer I would want to give for legal reasons.
Interesting.
Jail.
Can you at least articulate the legal reasoning?
Well, I mean, one of the things I think Do Kwon was kind of getting him in problems is, or no, let's put it more general actually.
Well, Do Kwon was making promises about backing it with Bitcoin and all sorts of rather absurd proclamations.
In general, as a team or founder for that matter, you can't promise too much. If you promise, and something turns out to be different, then you become liable. So that's not how this works. Can you be absolutely 100% certain? There are things that can go wrong. Personally, I think the biggest risks are the ones we slightly touched upon. Technical risk, smart contract failure. You don't know what you do not know. So let's say a hack for whatever reason seems to be possible or is possible and something happens that can have an influence. There are risks. There's no such thing as something that is risk-free. So that's one of the things in general I want to put out there. That's just a thing. You need to handle that, you need to mitigate that, you need to deal with that through audits, through also making sure that if something happens, you fix it quickly. Of course, that's all part of software development. There is an element of risk in there. Do I think the risk is big? No, but you can't rule it out. Now, if we now look, of course, at the model, at an algorithmic model, can it fail? Now, fundamental question, and I'll start off with my own journey in there. And actually that had an interesting, how shall we put it, not a twist. That was very an interesting addition in the last, let's say, 6 months. Because one of the things I've always done is people explain to people why it can't break. And that was kind of a ground note because everybody was trying to convince me that what we were doing wasn't possible. So the ground note is then to explain to people why it can't break. But if you look at a very purely economic reality, then there is what is possible and there is what is not possible. What do I mean? There is an economic reality, and it doesn't matter if you take real estate, gold, Bitcoin, Ether, bananas, it doesn't matter. Anything that has a price or that is operating in an economic setting that goes with supply and demand. If for anything, the reality turns out that all demand goes away and all that is left is selling, price goes to zero. There is no exception for nothing. So with this reality in mind, the understanding needs to be that when that happens, and I'm very specific here, when that happens, there is no recovery. Because if there is literally no demand and all there is selling pressure, things go to zero. Nothing can escape that law. Now, once you become aware of that, you know what is impossible. Then the question is, how can you make sure that if such a reality would occur, or let's put it differently, how do you avoid such a reality to occur? This is where many different ingredients within the model find its way to make sure that the following condition is always at place. Again, triple token economy. The dual token economy, like Terra-Luna, has the symbiotic relationship. When one goes down, there is no way to keep the other one in demand. Maybe shortly, maybe because the market yet isn't quite aware of what's going on. That model doesn't work. That model works when things are happy and in a sunny scenario, not when it goes down. This is where the triple token economy comes into being. Because what do we want to create under all circumstances is to make sure that even if 2 tokens go down and 2 tokens lose all demand, there is no problem if demand remains intact for that 3rd token. It wouldn't even matter which token it is, but this is a condition that you want to create. That's the condition that we have created. So, and in this case, we also call it, I don't know if we're going to continue it, but it has been funnily called the designated survivor. So that DUCA is our designated survivor. Well, I don't know what that means. It means that if everything goes to shit, when everything goes sour, when everything goes beyond repair, DUCA is still strong and DUCA still remains attractive. That comes at a high price, but this is the worst of all cases. And it basically means that the interest, the yield on DUCA is going to significantly increase and keep on increasing. Now, there's more happening. If people want to know, we can dive into it. But this is the fundamental principle that we have integrated into the model, which means that we have a different approach to stability. I'm taking a little bit, it's fundamental, so let's take the time to answer this correctly. What is important is that there's always an incentive for people to join in and to participate. This is key. It comes back to what we are doing and what we are not doing. In a way, you need to understand that stability is not defined in the classical stablecoin way. What does that mean? Well, first of all, this is programmatic money and not a stablecoin. What is a stablecoin? Okay, stablecoin defined by 2 things. 1, a peg, a fiat currency, could also be a basket, doesn't matter. Peg is a peg. Let's say peg to the dollar, since that's what we all do. Secondly, we have collateral. So what do? We have a promise of a value and we substantiate that promise with something else than this token itself or whatever. So, okay, so we've got fiat, we've got ether, it doesn't really matter. We can be very intelligent about it. The idea is that the stable coin itself doesn't do that much. It just provides a stable value, but it gets that value from elsewhere. Hence a stable coin. Programmatic money is something else, doesn't get its value from somewhere else. And in our case, it's not pegged to a fixed value. What does it mean? We have a market value. The market determines the value of DUCA. We have an internal value. Okay. Now, it gets more complicated, but this is one piece of the puzzle. Why? Because in a peg model, so to say, a currency exchange rate regime called pegging, if you deviate from your peg, things are breaking. But if we look at a normal fiat currency, let's take the dollar, it's perfectly normal, and then the dollar is one of the best currencies. It just has roughly 10% volatility on a yearly basis. So it goes up and down roughly 10%, and that's even good because most currencies go 10, 15, 20%.
Yeah, it's the best of a bad batch.
So and then we start to worry about depegging a few percent. Well, with a pegging reference, then that's a problem because that's the whole model. But from a money perspective, a few percent deviation here and there, or even 10% over a longer period of time, let's say a year, is not a problem whatsoever. Now, so there's a difference there. Why is this important? Because we need to combine those 2 ingredients, and I hope people can stay on board with what's going on. But when you combine these 2, what then means if we are getting into a very problematic circumstance, then it could very well be the case that the market value drops of, for example, DUCA, but that doesn't crash the system. Next to that, there will be demand generated from the other tokens to increase the yield and to increase demand. And the more, this is the short version, last bit, the more the market value will come under pressure, the more interesting DUCA will become. And this is also, in short, why our protocol is called a reflexivity protocol, because the general nature of the protocol is that it's able to absorb all this market dynamic and translate it within the protocol without breaking. I hope people could do something with this, but this is kind of a lengthy, in-depth approach of how you create something that can't break.
Well, that answer was so substantive. As I wrote in chat, you covered both of Rum's questions. Rum's second question was, if DUCA is not backed by real-world collateral such as gold or fiat, then what gives it value beyond speculation? What happens if the open market decides the price was zero? So you actually answered that very substantively. Amazing. Okay. Our next question comes from Kratos. How does your current IT strategy align with your overall business objectives and goals? And are there any specific areas where you might see a need for improvement or better alignment?
Can you run that one by me again?
Sure. How does your current information technology strategy align with your overall business goals and objectives? And if you see that it might not, are there any specific areas where you would see a need to improve that or better align?
Okay, I hope I understand the question, because maybe it's the specificness about IT strategy.
Yeah, he's asking essentially about your IT infrastructure.
What IT infrastructure?
Essentially, any centralized contracts, any servers, any cloud computing you might need for this project.
Well, we're on chain, huh? So no servers, no cloud computing, no nothing. So in that sense, deploy and off we go. So
okay,
I don't see any need there.
Well, I guess
on that one,
yeah, I was just gonna say a follow-up to that would definitely be if the chain is serving all of your IT infrastructure needs, are there any other chains that you think might be better serving your needs than, say, Ethereum?
yes, absolutely. And well, here we go. It depends on, of course, our own personal preferences. I mean, I love the security of Ethereum. I don't like 5-hour outages. I don't know how you feel about that kind of stuff. But I also like low transaction fees. And there seems to be a trade-off. So in that sense, I always say two things. We don't pick winners. And we don't do politics. So if people are happy on a Solana or happy on a layer 2, even though decentralization is far removed from, it's not there, fair enough. I mean, no problem. So in that sense, we really want to bring DUCA to those chains that have traction and that people want to use to be available there, and let everybody for themselves make sure or find out what the criteria is to go where and to use what. I mean, I'm not going to store my pension on a non-decentralized layer 2. It's not going to happen. Ethereum, I'm comfortable, but that's personal. I mean, so in that sense, multi-chain is the future as far as I'm concerned for DUCA, and we want to be there where traction is, in short. So that's definitely the case. But also in the first bit of the question, it is an important one, because when we speak about the protocol, then yes, we've got smart contracts going on there. We deploy and off we go. No further things are needed. But you need to have a front end, or at least you need to have access to the protocol. This is also why decentralization is so key, but also to actually make sure that from day one, we do not need any manual stuff or servers or whatever, is that the front end, what we're going to do is to integrate with DEX aggregators. I love DEX aggregators. I think that's sort of the future. So that all the front-end interfacing that we need and that people are going to use are not handled by us. So that there is, because obviously a front-end with a local server That will be a main target point for regulation. It's gonna come big time, and it provides a centralized point of access and control. So also on that level, we do not want that, so that there is open access and that people can connect via different applications, both to comply with regulatory requirements, meaning you don't do something that requires regulatory compliance, and that you don't have the centralized control bit.
Okay.
So very much ingrained in the strategy and how things are set up. And this is also why I say, yeah, decentralization for real is very, very difficult, very difficult. But this is a prerequisite, yeah.
All right. Kratos' next question. How does your organization approach the adoption of new technologies? Do you have any examples of recent tech initiatives or innovations that have significantly impacted your business?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, if you're building on ETH, I guess dank sharding is going to help, isn't it?
Sorry? What did you say, Nexus?
I said, well, if you're building on ETH, I mean, we can at least say dank sharding is going to help. The scaling solutions. Making the fees cheaper.
Clearly. But clearly, but there's nothing we can, there's no control on that. It just happens, right? So yes, bring it on. So I understood the question is, what is it that we actually used as new technology or new, yeah, I'm afraid I don't have an answer to that.
Hey, that's okay. The community usually stumps the team at least once. It's kind of built into the cake.
Right.
All right.
No need for new tech.
Oh yeah. Our next question from PR Thomas. Gold has proven itself to be a reliable investment against inflation for many years. If my goal is strictly maintaining value, then why should I take a chance on DUCA when gold is a safer option?
Yeah. Well, many ways to answer this one. If you're comfortable with the volatility and price of gold, if you're comfortable, because basically we can argue about this statement. Let's not step over that one, because inflation is one of the key issues with gold, of course. But okay, if gold is your preferred cup of tea, then go for it, right? That it comes with friction, because do you have your own gold safe? Do you do it via a account on your bank? That means basically that the bank is still in control one way or another. If you're all comfortable with that and you like gold as an asset, kudos to you. That's fantastic. What I'm more concerned about and what I think is superior in terms of financial attributes or as an asset is that the fundamental value maintains purchasing power. It does so on an hourly basis because the value is there. It is liquid. You can control it. It's in your own wallet. All kinds of attributes we don't have to explain. Of course, we all know that. And you can send it straight away. So it is your store value. It does economically and financially what you want, but it is there directly under your control. And if you want to do something else in 5 minutes from now, you can. If it's your gold stored somewhere, you've got friction. It's not so liquid or it's not so easily transferable. So that is a key thing, key difference. But there is also the yield. Your gold doesn't generate yield. DUCA does generate yield on an hourly basis. So there is an additional financial aspect here that it is yield generating. And I have a bit of a real estate background. This was one of the key principles I was looking for in terms of defining and creating the ultimate store of value. Now, traditionally there's not so much that you could really consider a good store of value. Gold obviously is one of them. Okay, we've got silver. Real estate is superior in many ways. Money traditionally is a store of value, but I say traditionally because does that still apply? Not according to my standards. Obligations, bonds, that kind of stuff, yeah. So that's there. The problem with gold, or let's put it this way, the superiority of real estate is that it generates passive income whilst it has a protection mechanism towards inflation, and it can even, of course, appreciate in value over time. The problem with real estate is it's very capital intensive, or you need a high level of capital to enter the market, and it's totally illiquid. Now, gold, of course, is more liquid, but it doesn't generate an income. It's just an asset sitting there, and it's not doing anything more. And this is where DUCA comes into being, and what makes DUCA so special is that you do have the stability of a value, so it is a solid store of value, and it is income generating. It generates passive income whilst having full liquidity. You don't even have to stake it or lock it, even if it's for a day or a week. No, it's always in your wallet doing its thing, and the moment you want to make use of it, do something else, you can. So it is real money with the attributes of a real superior store of value. So that to me beats gold any day of the week. And that would be my thinking on DUCA versus gold.
Okay. Thomas' second question. The primary purpose of DUCATA seems to be providing a store of value. Riskless investments will typically return little to no profit. So how can you offer an 805% return on investment on the presale? Who and where is that profit coming from?
So the reference you're now speaking about is connected to what we do now with the presale and the prices that is applicable in the presale versus how distributions will go after launch.
Okay.
This reference so this is important, this reference is based on the starting price of $725 for DCM after we've gone live. And basically the last tier in the pre-sale will be 120, 125, one of those two, which means there's a gap. Now, that gap is very important. That's where this number comes from, because that gap is basically what you could see as a vacuum. What do I mean with that? Is that there will be 7 million tokens distributed via the pre-sale / private sale, which we already had. And that will come on the market then. But that's very, very, very little. There will be great demand from the protocol, but also we will kickstart basically with a very high DUCA yield, because we're going to airdrop our form of an airdrop, let's put it like that. We're going to put 1.5 million DCMs in the treasury fund so that we really have a kickstart where the yield is concerned. And what is going to be exact depends on a few variables, because that's how the incentive structure works. But you could think in the domain of in the range of 500 to 2000%, which is high, obviously. And it will drop as more people buy DUCA, because that's how the mechanism works. So there will be demand, but there will be very little DCM on the market, because people also have 30 days time to claim their tokens, and there are reasons to wait doing that. I would sort of advise it, but maybe that would be considered financial advice, which is not. It's just, I would say something like that. But you can claim from day one, no lock-in, no vesting, because the model is designed to be stable. So no need to do the normal vesting and locking periods to protect the value of those tokens. This is normal, but that's not applicable here. Now, with this gap, what that means is that, or this is actually part of the design, or how DCM supply is in a way managed, so to say, to always make sure that the market doesn't get flooded with DCM. We start with this very low amount. From there, it can only increase if we reach certain price points. Now, it starts with 725. At that price point, it would make 250,000 DCM available at that 725. If that's gone, then the next batch of 250,000 tokens will be at 750 and so on. So with every 250,000 tokens sold, price goes up 25 cents and the next batch becomes available. What this means is that there is no increase in supply on the market unless the market value enables that, because who's going to buy at a distribution at a higher price than what they can get in the liquidity pools? Makes no sense, won't happen.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
So this is the mechanism. And that's where this price comes from. Because this vacuum will mean, now let's put it differently. Because there will no addition happen as in DCM on the market, all DCM that is being bought or being used takes away from this supply. Now, maybe to add to that, we're operating in under restrictions. So the current pre-sale is based on KYC because not everybody can participate. So we all know Mr. Gensler and their policies of the SEC. So US is excluded because US considers everything a security and we're unregulated. So SEC says unregulated security, so you can't participate. Clear. But that means that a whole market, also in Europe, the United States as the biggest market for sure, can only access our tokens and interact and participate from the moment we launch, because then there will be an interface which has no KYC and you can participate as secondary market. So I safely assume that will cause an inflow of new investors that are waiting to participate but can't yet. Now, if we take it further, sorry for this lengthy answer, but I like to be thorough and complete. You might have noticed by now.
No worries.
The liquidity pools we start with are very small. You need to think of 100,000 DCM and, for example, 125,000 of USDC. Long story short, for those who know the math of a liquidity pool, and you can look it up, it's not very complex, it means you've got slippage and you've got a lot of slippage very fast. I've made a little calculation and basically it means that a net inflow of 170k-ish is enough to take the price from 125 to 725, and 170k of inflow is nothing compared to what we're now talking about. And this is what I mean with a vacuum. You create a system, or at least a starting position, where there will be demand and very little capital inflow is required to boost that price. There will not be any selling pressure along the way for sure, but it will be limited. And any resolution, or how should we put it? Solution to that is more distributions, and that won't happen until 725. So this is kind of what you need to understand if you want to get closer to the starting point when we launch, and the potency that will happen right there with multiple incentives, multiple places where you can get yield, and where there is for a short moment, because this is only happening then, there will be a huge demand and not much offering, so the price will go up. After that, it will gradually change, but this first gap shouldn't take long. That's where this comes from. I hope this helps.
Okay. As usual, very thorough answer. It actually covered several other people's questions too, including our next user. Hellboy, you actually answered his second question, who was asking how are the tokens going to be distributed, and what mechanisms are in place to ensure value appreciation and token utility. So that was his second question. You actually covered that with that.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and get to his first question. What is your project's unique value proposition compared to existing solutions? How does your technology differentiate from competitors in terms of innovation, security, and user experience?
Well, I think solving the stablecoin trilemma is key. There's a little list, but stablecoin trilemma, solving that one, even though we're not a stablecoin, but that's how you get to becoming a non-stablecoin, because that's the power that's kind of locked in solving the stablecoin trilemma, is that you enter a whole new domain. It's totally in vogue to claim that you've solved the stablecoin trilemma. Don't get me started on that one. But so far, it's very easy to see that all those solutions that claim it haven't done it. It's very difficult, but they haven't. That's really a game changer. Hence, we're creating programmatic money. We are creating a stable value without pegging. That's a first in crypto. It's totally crypto native. That's not the first. Original DAI did that, of course, marvelously, but that was a CDP that wasn't capital efficient, and there you go. But that definitely was really crypto native, so kudos to that. But yeah, that's no longer the case, and now we are dealing with treasury fund bonds and God knows what. So that's different now. So there's a lot happening. What I think in this whole list we can go on, because personally I think the key thing for DeFi in the coming period is yield. I think yield is currently very much making a difference, but we're not yet there. Yield is king. Yield, I mean, look at Athena. Amazing what they accomplished in a couple of months. To go from 0 to 2 billion, 2+ billion market cap is an amazing thing to accomplish. So that's definitely amazing. And I think yield was the driver in that. And I think that's the power of yield. Now, yield in itself, okay, great. But if you have to work for it, you need to have knowledge and understanding about staking, about taking risk, for example, with volatile assets, staking them, etc. There's a lot involved around it. And I think what will be the game changer, and definitely also will be the, let's say, the quality that can create a winner once and for all in the current stablecoin market. That is that asset that provides a stable value and provides a yield without you as an owner anything have to do with it, for it. So you just own your tokens and yield lands in your wallet. That's what DUCA does, and we combine it with maintaining purchasing power. Hasn't been done yet. So that combines a bunch of value, real value, with the minimum to, let's say, from a crypto perspective, no friction whatsoever, or how I like to call it, there's no financial literacy needed, and in this case, no technological literacy needed to actually get your hands on that yield, or that you get your hands on the yield and it works for a few hours, but next day it's different, all that kind of stuff. No, good yield, solid yield, with a low risk. And this is where I'm looking forward to how this will unfold in the market, because the yield is structured as such that we start high, also because of our airdrop, which means people get interested, more people buy DUCA, yield lowers. And where it then needs to go to is where the market thinks that the risk reward lies. Because obviously, if you have a very low market cap and people don't know yet what's going on and they don't understand what's going on, they will in a way label it as, of course, of a higher risk, and they should, because it is. So the yield should be higher to offset that risk. As traction follows, as market demand grows, as understanding grows, I expect risk will become lower. Hence, yield will become lower because the interest will become bigger. And I'm looking forward to see where we're going to get this nice sweet spot where risk reward is concerned. Because I believe that through the incentive structure and how this is set up, there will be a more favorable risk reward ratio going on that plays out in the yield. So if you look at the stable assets off chain or traditional finance, like a government bond, you can see certain percentages, certain expectancies in terms of a return versus the risks you take. And I think DUCA will be far more interesting, which means a higher return against the same risk, long story short. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, going to be the key driver to mass adoption. We're, of course, obviously quite a long way from that still. But that's where it will come down to, based on being able to have this maintaining purchasing power and this yield without any of the normal frictions. Did I answer the question?
I do believe you did. As usual,
I was
your
gonna
answer is
say the
very
same thing.
thorough. Yeah, your answers are very thorough. I just want to call out too, we are 90 minutes in and I still have 10 more questions, 10 plus questions to get through. Like the
Don't
community
worry, I'm just getting started.
they're slaying it here, and these answers are really interesting. Okay, our next question hits on something heavy. This is from Panda. How is DUCATA addressing the evolving regulatory landscape for stablecoins? I'd also add navigating as a synonym for addressing, especially concerning compliance with financial regulations in different jurisdictions.
Yes, yeah, hot topic. It's a nightmare now. Yeah, for years this has, of course, been an area of attention for different reasons. So the importance is there. Now the strategy is multiple. Of course, in Europe we have MiCA regulation sort of kicking in. Is it good regulation? Well, I don't really think so, but we have to deal with it. And I mean, not per se regulation is bad, but more that how it is structured and how vague it is on things that are really important is really a lack of quality. So that's going to be a problem, but it is a reality. So basically with regulations, there's two angles. I already spoke about the DEX aggregation fan I am in that sense of DEX aggregators and how we are designed to plug into them and basically anybody else who wants to plug us in to provide us with the front end. I think I already said it from a regulatory perspective. That's important because FATF, AML, the whole shebang, it is closing in. And one of the attack vectors is the front end. Why? Front end needs to have a server needs to be somewhere, there needs to be a jurisdiction, so you've got a hook. And that's the thing all DEX aggregators are going to have to deal with. But our strategy is to make sure to be available to everyone in that sense, so that those who deal with it progressively and correctly have access, and we have access to the world without having the centralized burden of regulatory compliance on that level. Which of course doesn't mean we don't want to be regulatory compliant. No, this is the strategy to be regulatory compliant, because if you want to survive as a Uniswap, as a DEX aggregator, as a whatever, you need to comply. And if you plug us in and you comply, we comply through you. This is an important bit in the strategy. Next to that, we of course also see what we can do and how. So we are applying for to fall under MiCA regulation, or in that sense to be regulated in that sense. We're going to do that through Malta, because under MiCA you can actually choose whatever jurisdiction we have or country we have in Europe and apply for a license there. Malta in Europe has definitely been most progressive, most advanced, has already for many years regulation and law there. So within Europe, it's the most advanced jurisdiction. And of course, I'm not talking about continental Europe, but EU-wise. So that's our approach, to, in a way, take another route into regulation. And I need to add, actually, the third way, the most important way, is that the true answer to all this is full decentralization, because regulations so far always are aimed at somebody or something, an entity that can be regulated. So regulations are designed from the perspective of centralization. There is an actor, there is an entity, there is a something that can be regulated, because it can be written a letter to, it can be written, it can be called, it can be subpoenaed, so to say. Something has to show up, and the criteria is that the thing that is held accountable has the power to execute, because you can't be held accountable for something that you didn't do or that you can't execute, so to say.
Well, to be fair, the Netherlands court is definitely trying to hold some Tornado Cash developers accountable for their entirely autonomous, once deployed protocol, but that's somewhat of a digression.
Don't blame
well,
the Dutch.
Yeah,
Dutch.
well. But that is a very worrisome development, and that is scary, definitely. So that is just a sneak peek in what's more to come, because it's not good.
It's very strange that happened the same week that the Securities and Exchange Commission decided, maybe Ethereum's not a security. It's been a weird week.
It's yeah, it's true. Same thing, sanctioning in software, crazy stuff, right? But this is the unknowns, this is the uncertainty, this is the unclarity, which makes it so hard to navigate. You want to play by the rules, you want to play by whatever needs to happen, but boy, do they make it difficult. Because I don't want to become too cynical, but there are agendas at play. Let's put it like
Always
that.
are.
Always are. So that makes it a bit difficult, obviously. But this is in short the answer, to make sure that everything that you need to do, for example, with the front end, that it's not there, so that you outsource that regulatory challenge, which will be solved anyway, but then you don't have to deal with it. So that's a very nice strategy I personally like. And we are going to seek regulatory clarity and approval for sure, because I believe where this is going, if you are approved under MiCA, that opens door elsewhere, because it's just kind of how it works. But the end game, or at least the parallel trajectory, is just make sure that you are really decentralized and the power can't be driven back to one centralized entity, hence decentralization. And then how are you going to regulate it? You can't. You can ban it, yes. But yeah, that's always an option. That's not regulation. You can't do anything about that one anyway.
That's correct.
So this is kind of a strategy. Hope that helps.
Okay. Panda's second question. To what extent is the DUCATA system decentralized and autonomous? And what governance mechanisms would be in place to handle updates, disputes, emergencies, etc.?
So, I think I already touched upon it previously, but there is this situation which we will launch with, which is not fully decentralized according to our most highly criteria. Yes, fully autonomous, fully automated in its work, permissionless from day one, 100%, but we will have access to upgrading the smart contracts to be able to handle problems updates, because in this model, there are many assumptions. Many go into threshold levels, percentages here, percentages there. Many, as much as possible, is dynamic, but not everything, just not possible. So once the market really interacts with the protocol and you have data, you can see if it's actually working according to design. Now, you think you can test. Yes, I'm testing my ass off on testnet, but the problem is it's a reflexivity protocol. What does that mean? That actually the protocol is one half of the picture. It needs a market to interact with to do its thing. And that's when it needs a real market, and only then the thing actually comes alive. So I can imitate the market in any way I want, but you can't test it for real. I hope this is clear. Technically, yes, no problem, but the actual mechanisms and when something is going to be enough to cause a certain behavior, you just don't know. Could be at 10%, could be at 20%. So some fine-tuning is guaranteed to happen. We want to have the control to do so. Why? This is very complicated. We can't spend months of educating people to make the right decisions, right? Let's not overestimate governance, especially decentralized governance. It has quite a long way to go in terms of producing quality, especially when you want to have it a bit different. So I love decentralization. Ideally, I would have immutability. That's the level I love, but that's I wouldn't sleep anymore, so that doesn't work. What we need to get is to a model where we have got a maintainer, which is us, the DUCATA in that sense, and where we've got decentralization from a community, from governance, from a DAO, or however we're going to structure that, that can overrule and approve. Why is this important? Because you want to have the quality, the knowledge, and the authority on that level, whilst not having the centralization. And how you can do that is by making sure that the maintainer makes sure that whatever is happening as an improvement, and safeguard and uphold the quality of the protocol and prevent any, let's say, value extraction happening because people are motivated to do something in their own benefit, which is not in benefit of the protocol. So it can block that shit. But at the same time, the DAO is there to approve any kind of change and any kind of upgrade, so that if they don't agree, it's not going to happen. And that is what I see in this structure, the best of both worlds. One entity, one party, so to say, having focus and control on quality and safeguarding the original principles and workings, whereas the final authority on any change or any kind of update, whatever, lies with the community, lies through governance. And then we've got decentralization whilst we actually are able to maintain quality. And that's my ideal outcome. And that's where we want to be within 9 to 12 months from now.
Okay. All right, 1 second. I lost my question. Okay, there we go. Excellent. Our next question comes from ZuxW, who asks, DUCATA employs a unique governance model to involve community members in decision-making. How does this model ensure transparency and prevent the centralization of power, especially when compared to other blockchain projects like EOS, which has faced criticism for governance issues in the past?
So, governance, it's such a important and such a complex thing because of the two aforementioned things. You want to have decentralization, but you also want to have quality. And the more complex things become, the more difficult it becomes, right? Because who has the right knowledge to actually make the right decisions? Who is there to invest all this time? And one of the complexities, of course, is you want to reward people for their time and their energy. Let's say you want to reward them, which is a very good thing to do or a common thing to do. But that also creates an incentive to just do what you can do to get those rewards. If I pay somebody through an incentive, I give them a reward to actually say yes or no to something, that says nothing about the quality outcome of that vote. Let's not even start talking about governance tokens. I'm not a big fan. That's an understatement. Don't even get me started because, my God, governance tokens, terrible. So no, that's not the route we're going to take, because governance tokens, if we just keep it very simple, provide an open door for capital to get control. This is the fundamental thing we want to get away from. Now you would open the door in the name of decentralization. This is one of the problems, why it is also so difficult, and why decentralization in combination with value extraction, this is the term I would use, this is why capital is always a threat.
Yes.
And capital and power go hand in hand. I mean, there are a few things I wish I could erase. Governance tokens is one, liquid staking is another one. All systems just driving rewards and money to the owner is the core thing that is a problem of our current financial system. Anyway,
writing that without becoming a complete communist is a challenging thing to take on.
Yeah, this is challenging, absolutely, because we're not talking about communism, but indeed, I'm very pro-capitalism for sure, very much so. But even so, that I'm very much of the pure, fundamental, original idea of capitalism, and we've taken a few detours or detour. How do you call it? I only know the Dutch expression. That's not gonna work. So we've missed a few. We've went a bit the wrong way. Let's call it like that. And we as a society, global society, in our current financial system and model, and fundamentally the accumulation of capital is a given that it produce inequality, increasing the inequality. That's just a mechanism that's part of this design, and this is the problem. Hence, you can see it back in governance, you can even see it back in politics. Many people believe that we live in democracies. I think we live in plutocracies, but yeah, we can go crazy on this one, but I'm sure there's more ground to cover still in this on topic, Amma. So, long story short, you have to deal with all this difficulty when you start thinking about governance and how to make that work. So that's the short answer, which isn't an answer, but you, or at least actually I'm going to repeat the previous answer, but if you would want to know how it's exactly going to be, the thing is details haven't yet been developed, because that's exactly what we're going to do in the coming months.
I consider we're working on it to be an acceptable answer, if not an ideal.
We're working on it. We're working on Nexus, but from a criteria point of view, what you need to solve is that in the maintainer combination with the DAO, you already have addressed the quality bit, which is a big thing to do. You have mitigated decentralization, which is the key thing. Now what you need to do is to make sure that your incentive structure and the accessibility to the governance is in that sense not being able to, in a way, control through capital. So there needs to be limits within that, if you know what I mean. So you can't just buy more power. Of course, some is good, but it needs to be very limited. You want a lot of people active. and there needs to be a community, let's say, design infrastructure that focuses on promoting quality. That's the hard bit as far as I'm concerned. So I want to move this DAO, this governance bit, more into a meritocracy, if that says
A
something.
meritocracy. Yeah.
Sorry, meritocracy. You see, talk too much. Thank you for
good.
that. That's what my aim is, as far as we
Okay.
stand, but it's work in progress.
Okay. Zuckstub's second question kind of leads right from that, actually. What specific measures does DUCATA implement to ensure transaction speed and scalability without compromising security, particularly in high volume scenarios?
I don't think we do a whole lot in that level. More than
you're not doing a lot for scalability? That's our biggest problem with mainnet projects on Ethereum. Is
Yeah, but
essentially
maybe-
another way to think about this would be, are you considering any means by which to gas optimize the protocol?
Yeah, we're gas optimizing our ass off. That's one of the core things we're still working on a daily basis. So I didn't understand the question in that way. No, I mean, this is one of the biggest headaches to reduce gas costs, of course. You can do it in timing. Timing is important because we've got many processes going on. Ideally, some are hourly, some are instant, some are daily. So the more we can plan in cheaper times, the better it is. But you can also, in a way, if there is more room for when to do what, which we also have in the protocol, to actually connect it to certain gas fees or not execute certain tasks when fees are high. This is one of the this is one of the things we can do. And we're all looking for that, busting our ass to make it as cheap as possible. But this is not a cheap protocol in that sense. That's we already know for sure. But on the other hand, and that's the good thing about the protocol, is that it has a very high base level of operational costs, but the more traction comes and the more people make use of it, it doesn't scale in a negative sense exponentially. So in that sense, the more people use it, the more cheaper it gets, if you understand what I mean with that.
Okay. I guess the immediate follow-up to that, though, is screaming at me. Can you achieve that in a high-volume scenario, like affordability? Can you achieve that without too much scalability stuff or security compromise?
I think yes, but there will be a cost. And I don't think that can be changed. I mean, let's put it simple. If gas fees rise or explode, you can do something, but you can't stop functioning, right? So there's limits to what you can do, and there's no way around it. But there, of course, it is integrated in the structure that it can't go to a point that, for example, we stop functioning, right? I hope that is clear.
Interesting.
There is no risk in the functioning of the protocol, but yet the costs can explode if gas fees explode. Yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up question
Well, why not?
or a clarification? Is the multi-chain strategy, does that have an effect on lowering cost?
Well, yes, on those chains, but not for anybody interacting with mainnet. So,
Gotcha.
of course, if we go to a layer 2, then on that layer 2, which, by the way, the idea is that there are two things chain agnostic basically in the protocol. That's the DUCA exchange value, so that's our algorithmic float, the reference value of DUCA, and the maximum amount of DCM. The rest will be native to that independent chain where the protocol will move to. Again, don't start me about bridges. I hate bridges. They scare the shit out of me. So any multi-chain strategy will actually just create the protocol on another chain, besides those two aspects. Also, because you don't want any of the security issues, or if something goes wrong for whatever reason on another chain, that it can impact for example, Ethereum mainnet. So you don't want that. So in that sense, mainnet and mainnet, and what happens there with the gas fees, the protocol needs to suffer and handle. But obviously, if you're on Tron or you're on Solana and fees are
Negligible.
negligible, then different story. We could also do different stuff there. Absolutely. Because then you can really do nicer things. Yeah. And that will happen, obviously. But that won't help mainnet. Mainnet just needs to be resilient and secure and robust. And that comes with a price tag.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next question comes from Grunk, who asks, rather than forcing KYC, why don't you allow users to exchange other cryptos for DUCA? As far as I know, regulation doesn't require KYC for this. What measures are you taking to ensure that sensitive customer information you collect from the KYC process remains secure and protected?
We've got procedure for that. We've got a person responsible for compliance. We are working with well-established partners, partner in this case, for this. So we don't do, we do, but we don't. You use one of the KYC partners who have their own, obviously, obligation to handle that data correctly. I hope this already answers the questions. We've got strict laws in Europe as well on data handling and privacy. So
GDPR, baby.
Here we go. So yeah, we've got that stuff in place. Long story short, because we don't want to break the laws.
I would certainly hope not, sir. Gronk's second question. Your pre-sale has many stages, with the price increasing significantly at each stage. What is stopping investors from buying at 25 cents and then dumping the price back to this level once pre-sale ends? If they can do this, then how do you maintain the value of DUCA? If they're prevented from selling their tokens, then why would they want to invest in the first place?
Well, they're not prevented to do it. They can do it on day one and go for it. No problem there. How does DUCA prevent from that kind of thing? Well, the thing is, DUCA is designed to be able to handle that. We can handle the most extreme selling pressure possible. That's what it's designed for. That's why everything is different. Also, from a pre-sale perspective or an early investor perspective, there is no vesting. There's no vesting needed. So take, and of course, no problem. Somebody bought in the first stage. Happy for you, at 25 cents. Now, already, if you go through the logic that you then want to sell at, let's say, 125, the moment we start to launch, then you're really running to the exit. Let's say you do that. You can, but slippage applies, because the only way you can do it is by interacting with the liquidity pool, and slippage applies. So that means that with every transaction somebody makes, the price goes down. So there is only a very limited way you can actually exit, because the size of the liquidity pools, and therefore in this case USDC that is within those liquidity pools, are very low. So there's very little possible for people actually to exit. Of course, if others enter, then of course liquidity is added, which can be used to exit. Now, who's bothered by that? It means that all those who are coming in can come in at a lower price, and all those who want to exit can exit. I don't see any problem with that. And if you think, well, but hold on, people are selling, they are tanking the price, others are now wanting to enter but are now waiting, and I'm just going through a theoretical scenario. yeah, no problem. We've got an incentive structure that kicks in and starts doing what it is designed to do, and goes from there. No problem. If you build a model that has solved the stablecoin trilemma and you create a circumstance that can uphold this protocol and be stable under all circumstances, you can handle this. Otherwise, we would have done a vesting, obviously, but it's not needed. It's what the protocol does, and go for it and let the fireworks begin. That's what I have to say, kind of casually, but
I'll add something to that, because I think in the question it is assumed that you buy DUCA in the pre-sale, but you actually buy DCM. So one of the parts of the question is, if they can do this, how will you maintain the value of DUCA?
I missed that completely.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, if for the DUCA protocol, yes, the value is maintained, but especially for the price of DUCA, that doesn't really have much to do with the pre-sale and the DCM that might be getting sold by people. So that's, I think, an important differentiation there.
Yes.
And then good to add, exactly, because then good to add that on that first moment, there is no DUCA in circulation. There are some DUCA in the liquidity pools because it needs to be there, but DUCA still needs to arrive in the market. So hence that traction will happen, because nobody has DUCA, and we're going to start off with an insanely high yield. And the less people buy DUCA, the higher the yield. So the normal incentivization kicks already in, and you get those yield even if you're the only one going after that yield, of course. Hence demand will be there. Hence, if we would follow the reasoning I just did, it just doesn't make sense if we would take it from a DCM perspective, even if you bought at 25 cents, to run to the exit. I would at least wait till the 7.25 is there, and then you at least have a reason to exit. But anything sooner, sure, go ahead, but you're throwing away cash, that's for sure.
There's also a fun detail on the claiming of your tokens, because everyone that has participated in the pre-sale actually has 30 days to claim. Now, naturally, in any other token or what we know, everyone is like, okay, day one, I'm immediately claiming and selling, right? Taking your profit. But for this situation, it might be that you want to sit back and see what the price does and not claim until the price is higher. Also because DCM is a rebase token. So once you claim, your DCM is subject to the rebasing mechanism. If you haven't claimed it and you're just letting your DCM sit there for the full 30 days or 20 days or however long you want to wait, it's not going to get rebased. So we also have quite a few people asking about how is this with the 30 days? There's benefits to it as well. Kind of like self-imposed vesting, I guess. You could see it. I like to see it like that. Personally, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to sit back a little and see what everything is doing. But it gives a little bit of like a buffer, a time to everyone that's taking part in the pre-sale to get used to the mechanisms, to see how the protocol is working, to not immediately, act without knowing what's actually happening.
Intriguing. All right, our next user's question comes from Mike H. You describe DUCA as programmatic money. Are you taking any measures to promote its use as a currency rather than as an investment?
Well, not at the moment, because we're not yet live, obviously. So at this moment, DUCA is not interesting because it doesn't exist yet. You can't buy it yet. It's an extension of course, what we just touched upon, but DCM is. So, of course, for people now willing or interested in potentially investing in the pre-sale, it's all about DCM, and it's connected to DUCA because obviously DUCA is going to stimulate demand for DCM. But at this moment, not obviously then, but The thing is, of course, for DeFi and for DeFi use cases, it is very interesting. It's not yet that we're then talking to an audience or interacting with an audience that would be inclined, or at least that would be first to approach it to actually use it as money. That's really, I would say, what is going to kick in if we would really focus on South America, Argentina, Brazil, and other countries with high inflation. Turkey, for example, there people have a real problem with their money. And that's
Yes.
really when it kicks in. But also to really provide the right solution, we already spoke about the gas fees, being on a chain that has negligible gas fees or transaction fees, that's really what you want. So it will be really the second chapter, not from day one, of course, but when the DUCATA bank comes into the picture and when we expand to other chains, then it will most definitely be about that and that only. Especially, of course, I do not know exactly what's happening within the States in this domain, but I do have quite some idea what's happening in Europe.
Yeah, it's going state by state here. Don't get me started.
I won't. Yeah, but there you go. But there's many initiatives that all try to do stuff which is connected to the fiat on-off ramping or connecting crypto into the current system. We're going to do our own take on that one. But there are many initiatives already happening and getting traction. And DUCA would be a massive use case for their product. And this is also one of the ways where, from a business development perspective, we would really start to push and look for partnerships to really get DUCA being used as money and as your own self-sovereign store of value, if you will, which is way beyond DeFi use cases. And it's where my, how should I put it? It's where my heart lies. I mean, you really want, it is money, get it in the hands for people who need better money and go for there. Also, that's the biggest market, right? And then you see a market cap just take off like crazy, I'm sure of it. So that will be very much the focus as a second step, but that will only start in a couple of months from now. But that is the end game.
So we like to say in crypto we're early. With DUCA, we're like really early. Like super duper early.
Mike's second question: has your value stabilization system been tested? It's more complex than similar stabilization and pegging systems. How are you able to ensure its resiliency?
Multiple level stuff is happening there. So much. Of course, currently testnet, so doing the most extreme scenarios and impossible scenarios that now can be done. But prior to that, when we were really in a more earlier stage of the development, we did a lot of pressure testing and simulations. We've done so much, and things also have changed. But you can test and experiment. And the interesting thing, especially, of course, when you have a properly functioning testnet, is that you can also see things happening which you were not expecting, or combination, especially in this protocol, combination of influences coming together, doing something which makes you think, do we want this or not? Yes. But also, it's very complex. But if you actually get through it and you start to see the fundamentals, then you can also see through, let's say, the details and the bigger picture. And then the bigger picture is fairly, I can't say it, but it's not so complex. The principle, and once you understand the principle, then you're there. Does this make sense?
It's esoteric. It's hard to articulate. That's not entirely your fault.
Right. So So testing is very specific, very important, very significant, but the principle of the model is far easier to understand actually. And so shall we take an example?
Well,
Let's take an
my
example.
immediate follow-up just to that is, in the extensive testing you've done so far, has there been anything that sort of raised an eyebrow that you were like, oh, I got to get that fixed, I got to get that worked on?
Oh yeah, for sure. That can have different reasons, not just functionally, or you've had those as well, or that you think, yeah, that's a few of the ones we had was that things are very well thought through and designed and work perfectly in the brain. But the reality of blockchain and the speed of blockchain transactions, hence also the gas fees, the costs, make certain things not viable. So we had, for example, an internal arbor to create additional fees off the liquidity pools and outrun the market. Yeah, that's a great idea. And we had some extra powers as well. But based on gas fees and based on how this is structured, way too expensive. Didn't make sense. Could very well be a nice solution for another chain, but for mainnet, not gonna work. Is that a problem? No. Did it have an impact on theoretically the results within the protocol and the incentive structure? Yeah, slightly. So we need to adjust that. That's okay. Didn't in fact has an effect on the stabilizing aspects? Absolutely not. It just provides a little bit more opportunity for the market to do their own maximum extractable value stuff. No problem. But these are an example of changes that have occurred. But also certain threshold values that were really high, but quite aggressive. And then you see it happen, you think, oh, that wouldn't be nice if I would be in these DCM holder now and I get my ass rebased all over the place. That's not nice. Do we actually need such a high level? No, actually not. It was really thought about a very high level of over collateralization. We want to have at least 200%. And if we go below 175, we add 5%. Just to make sure that we have this massive over collateralization, because who doesn't like that, right? Now, turns out that's very high. Plus, if you have a sustainable mechanism that works whenever it needs to work, you can go to 125 because it doesn't negatively impact the stabilization of the stability of the model. These are examples where you just change settings and have a bit more nuanced approach, which becomes clear when you see the outcome of what you've built. So these kind of fine tunings are happening and still happening just to really get this thing, like Formula One car precision and optimization. That's I like it. I enjoy it a lot. But things are happening absolutely to get the thing as good as it gets. Absolutely.
Okay. We only have 7 more questions to go, guys. But they're meaty ones. We're in the meat now. It's only getting harder from here. Our next question comes from Sukuna. How does the DUCA protocol balance the need for quality control with its commitment to decentralization, especially in terms of the maintainer's role in the multi-sig governance structure? Specifically, they're asking what safeguards are in place to prevent centralization risks associated with the maintainer's access to the code base, and how does the unanimous vote requirement for deploying changes enhance the protocol's resilience and trustworthiness?
Well, the risk for centralization is not a risk, it's a guarantee from day one, because we control the multisig. We can do whatever we have been able to upgrade as a possibility. We can. Make no mistake about that one. Why is that the case? Because we're most knowledgeable, most capable, and we need to act fast if it needs to do so. So for me, that should be crystal clear that I find it very important to make the distinction. I also do that in the white paper, is that when you have a protocol that runs fully automatic, And I mean fully as in the 100%, not in the 99.9, no, 100%. So it does what it needs to do. You can't touch it, you can't influence it, nothing is possible there. It's fully automated. That's decentralization. As far as I'm concerned, on a first level or operational decentralization, we can invent words, all fine, but that is real decentralization. Now, of course, second step is that if we've got a maintainer who has access to a multisig and can make changes, then everything is possible based on, of course, the upgradability, because not everything is changeable, not everything can be upgraded, but to the extent that that is allowed to do in how the code base has been put together, you can. So, of course, from the highest level of criteria, we are fully centralized in that sense. Or because I think the question had a risk element in there. No, it's not a risk, it's a guarantee. Mind you, we've been doing this for 6 years, so don't worry. We know what we're doing. We are very centralized, and it will stay a little bit like that. But when the protocols are in operation, it runs the way it runs, will be transparent, etc. Is
Okay,
this the
so
desire?
my interpretation is it starts basically fully centralized control to the team. But this is not going to stay that way. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, but we're talking about upgrading and making changes. We're
Yes.
not talking about the way it works or what can be done in there. There is no hands-on influence at all.
Okay. That's
That
very
needs to be
clear. Yes, that's very clear.
And this is, of course, very different than when you've got, shall I say, names. I mean, it's even possible now that people do fully centralized operations. Let's say you want to have delta neutral hedging kind of stuff going on, and you issue a governance token, and then you consider yourself decentralized. That's very weird. That's very weird because
yeah.
because if you need manual operations to make sure that whatever you have built can still be good but stays functioning, you can't talk about decentralization, right? Because if we start to define decentralization in that way, then every publicly owned company is decentralized. Every stock market company is decentralized because there is a board, there are people doing it, and you've got shareholders, we've got voting rights, etc. What? I mean, so yeah, that's not decentralization, and issuing a governance tokens and then say, well, if you say something, maybe we'll do it. That doesn't work. Decentralization is that things need to go automatically, and you need to make sure that if changes are there needs to be a process to manage that without one centralized influence taking ownership or control, influencing that stuff. Now, that's what we're after, and that's what we're going to do. But it won't be in the first few months. Early 25, that's the objective, to get to that level. And that's real decentralization as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Dakuna's second question. Can you elaborate on how the stability fee and rebase mechanism interact to maintain the equilibrium within the DUCA economy, particularly during a period of high volatility? How does the protocol ensure that the automatic adjustments in DCM circulating supply and the strategic incentives for holding DCM or LPD effectively prevent systemic risk and maintain the required collateralization levels while also promoting the long-term value appreciation of DUCA and DCM?
Ah, fantastic. Love it. Yeah. So this is, if I got all the nuances and indications in the question, but basically this is what the stability fee is all about. This is why it's called a stability fee. It is a fee to maintain stability. And particularly between DCM and LPD, or you could say this is the key thing that creates the symbiotic relationship between DCM and LPD. Very fundamental to the workings of the protocol. Why? Okay, stability pool, the heart of the protocol, the key thing here. This is kind of the intersection, the crossroad where all things come together. Different fees happen there. There are pluses, there's minuses. Everything that is critical and that needs, in a way, incentivizing, if we put it very simple, happens from the stability pool. In order to do so, you need liquidity. And it is DCM that is that liquidity. So the liquidity needs to be provided by the users and get LPD in return. There you go. Now, what does that mean? To keep on functioning, to keep the protocol functioning, we always need liquidity in the stability pool. It's not going to work without it. Hence the stability fee that orchestrates that demand. Okay, so what does this all mean? Can we take this further? Of course we can. The thing is that multiple things happen at the same time. Because as I just kind of gave a very brief introduction of the vital aspects that all come together within this stability pool, it also creates over-collateralization for DUCA. Hence, it is a very key component to the stabilizing effect on DUCA. Because we've got a reserve where DCM is brought in whenever it's being used to mint DUCA. That means in there, long story short, we always have 100% at least of collateralization of DUCA. And that's a conservative approach because it's based on what we call the par value, not the market value, but we can leave that for the moment. We've got a minimum of 100% and the stability pool, the liquidity in there, provides the over-collateralization. So what do we aim? We want to have at least 200%. We like things nice and secure, over-collateralized. So this already gives us a minimum criteria for the stability pool to be equal to the DUCA market cap, because that's how you get to 100%. So an equal value of DUCA in DCM against the market value is the initial or minimum target value, and I need to say target pool size slash based on the DCM liquidity in there for the stability pool. Simple. How does this work? How do you guarantee then that this is always met? Well, if it's not exactly met, it's not even a problem, but this is where the stability fee comes into being. There is a range of incentive structure things going on in the stability pool, but it doesn't mean that the net outcome is favorable for users or that it is favorable to all users or to enough users to meet this target level. What the stability fee does is it simply, via the rebase mechanisms, increase the liquid. No, I need to put it different. It puts a fee into the stability pool, which increases the positive result of being a LPD owner, which you can get additional yield. Now, how does this work? It works just as long as the market responds to whatever the target is. So if the target is 100% and we're at 50%, this fee will go up every hour. It will continue to go up until the target is met. When will it be met? We don't know. This is one of those aspects that I can't test. I can test the workings, but I do not know based on what incentive somebody will get in or will get out. The market will determine that. It's also really what I like. Because you're not talking about fixed values, but you let the market determine the right values. It's a very dynamic fee. It's based on the sigmoid formula for those who have the knowledge, which basically means the further away you're from the target, the higher the fee is, the closer you get by, the lower the fee gets. It's an excellent mathematical approach, algorithm, to actually get a value to find its right spot, which you don't know where it is. That's how this works, which means this fee can always be paid because it's based on the rebase mechanism, since there's always DCM users who are owning DCM in the market, they pay for that fee, and it gets a reward in the stability pool for the LPD owners. What this means is that if this is ongoing, you can have the circumstance that DCM owners are paying a fee to LPD owners. Question, where do you want to be? Answer normally is, maybe I like to be an LPD owner then. Great, then that's what we're going to do. People are going to switch from paying a fee to LPD owners. They switch to LPD so that they become a person who receives a fee from the DCM owners. This is what the stability fee does. But what happens is everybody then goes and do that. Well, we overshoot the target and now everything reverses. Now LPD owners are paying a fee to DCM owners. So what's now going to happen? Well, we go back to the other side, right? Now we can continue this for an hour or so. The thing is, the market will discover where the balance is. And that is the fee that will find its equilibrium, or how should we put it? Representative.
I was going to say equilibrium.
Right. So that's how it works in short. So this is a very powerful mechanism because the fee is sustainable due to the rebase mechanism. It can always be paid and it will always find its right mark. And it gets updated every hour. The further it's away, the bigger it becomes. And that's it. And that's it will function because this is how it's designed. It can't not function. And you could go into theoretical examples. Yeah, but what if the response of the market is not fast enough? Fair question. This is where my example of this minimum threshold value of 75% came in. We've got guardrails in place that will act if things get out of line. And through a rebase mechanism, the protocol can always act. And this is why our incentive model is so sustainable, because that's how it's designed. And rebasing makes that possible in this case. And the protocol acts whenever it needs. And it's designed to act when it needs. And it's designed not to when, of course, it's not needed. I hope this helps a bit.
Wow. What an answer. Okay. That was like it. I'm going to need to re-listen to the VOD to digest that one.
I think we always call the stability fee the silver bullet of the mechanism or the whole protocol because it's complex, but once you get it, it makes the most sense and it's the most necessary out of everything. We've been diving into this particular part of the protocol internally for the past week, so it's really nice to hear it from Patrick's perspective now.
So awesome. All right, our next question from Master Halo 40. Do DUCATA users / holders have a place where they can go to check that their tokens are backed 1-to-1? Is it impossible for there to be depegs with DUCA, or rather, if there were, what solutions are in place to avoid or fix the problem? I consider this a really important aspect for a project like this to be successful because obviously it has to have transparency toward the users in the decisions that are going on.
So the protocol is on-chain transparent. What we will do is that we will provide a massive amount of metrics. I think that's becoming clearer if you think about it, that how are you going to know what is all going on where and how with all these incentives, stability fees, yields, what have you not. So I'm currently busy with those designs and getting that data out there. It's the favorable, not very it's fun. I like that stuff. But what we're going to get is that everything, not everything, but everything that is relevant for decision making will be clearly there in data. And if you like, that can be checked with the smart contracts if the data is actually correct. No problem there, full transparency. So you know what you're looking at and you know where it comes from, so you can check, it's verifiable. No hands are attached to it, all clear. And all this data will show you what's going on in terms of market values, that's easy, but also collateralization. How much collateral is there in the stability pool? What is the target pool size at the moment? How much collateral is there in the reserve? How much is it against the par value? How much is it against the market value? And in general, you see gewoon 3, 4, 500% of average collateralization going on. And you can see it then for yourself. You see the backing, you see where it is, you see the composition of the liquidity pools, how much liquidity in there. It's all known. You can see it, you can verify it yourself, and you can discuss it endlessly on Discord with the team. All good. I'm looking forward, having big fun, and see how it works. I mean, imagine if we would do this session now, whilst we have launched 2 weeks ago, and we would go through the data. I mean, that will be exciting as far as I'm concerned. Also to explain and to see what is going on, and to understand that you got all the knowledge there, you can reference, you can check and see what's going on. So you don't have to take our word for it. I think that's maybe the short answer. You will be able to check what is going on, what is where, because this is very data driven, and the whole protocol provides so much, on the one hand, incentives, but also fees and also relationships, that even if you have the idea about the relationship, you still need to see in the form of data what's actually going on, right? Otherwise, how are you going to make a decision, or how do you see what is coming? So I hope this answers the question.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Master Halo's second question involves additional utility and use cases from being a protocol holder, apart from the obvious of the solved stablecoin trilemma. He makes specific reference to governance, but I'd kind of reframe his question in a way of asking if there's any unique or interesting governance models that you're considering for the project, because we've already talked a little bit about governance.
No, for sure, VE tokenomics. So the VE models are the ones I think are best, most exciting. But that's, yeah. So no governance tokens. And I'll also kind of find it tricky and this is totally, it's not even work in progress, because we're working on other stuff and it will become work in progress after the launch. But I even want to mitigate the risk of that, for example, those who stake DCM tokens get more power as DCM gets more powerful, or how are we actually going to do it when you're talking about a rebase token? Very tricky stuff. So most likely, although there's an interesting opportunity there as well, but most likely it will be DUCA, and that you are staking DUCA for a longer period of time, and you play with that length of staking, let's say 1 or 2 years. You want to create a level of commitment. That's the direction. No governance tokens whatsoever, to be accessible, because also, if you start to participate in 5 or 10 years from now, theoretically, you still want to be able to get in and, in a way, how shall I put it, have the same opportunity.
Yeah, you don't want it to be prohibitive in 5 years where it's accessible today.
Exactly. So that's why DUCA is probably really well suited for that, and a cap of what you can do in terms of putting money in, so that really the power and the incentives go to the people who make valuable contributions, get rewarded for that. But all the accumulation of power and capital that surrounds it should be highly mitigated. But that's
well, I know. take for example Ramses, which does use a token vesting model, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, that kind of thing. That protocol offers direct incentives for participation. Are you anticipating something like that?
Well, it's good to incentivize. You need to reward people. The challenge lies in how do you make sure that people are not incentivized to just do something for the reward, but are actually incentivized to produce a quality outcome. I think this is the holy grail, which hasn't been solved. I haven't solved it yet, but that's the trajectory.
Ramses' solution is to use the votes to direct emissions to liquidity pool providers, which I think is a unique solution. It seems to at least be achieving a growth in total value locked and trading activity. But I see what you're getting at. You want to be sure the incentive isn't, dare we say, corrupted.
Exactly. And that's a given in the world we live in, based on the current known structures. I'm maybe cynical, I don't know, but I find it quite a fundamental problem. So also, again, you see, this is already the area I want to stay away from when it comes to governance. Directing incentives I find scary as a principle already, because based on what criteria are you going to direct those incentives? Because especially in the DUCA protocol, DUCA model, there are incentives in place that are crucial to the well-being of the protocol, but go against token holders. It's the way it is. And I don't want people to tamper with that one, because people will screw it over. History is littered with
examples.
Especially now. Yeah, and with, current finance prefers short-term gain over long-term value. We happily destroy the planet to get profit now. Instead, think of taking less profit so that there's a future for the kids.
Conservation.
So, in so many ways, you can have a company that creates social value, many jobs, but doesn't provide a high level of return, and then you can destroy the company, sell a few bits, get the jobs out for a good short-term return for a shareholder. That's crazy, but that's the norm, or at least that's stimulated / supported in the current model. And it goes all the way. How is it? I know, I can't go there.
I know you want to, but I understand.
Yeah, but I'm not going to. There are a lot of examples in politics where lobbyists, based on incentives, are being able to convince politicians to not do certain favorable policies because
the politicians demand, or their entire campaign is determined on how much lobbying money they take in the first place. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I saw a stat on this a couple of weeks ago. 76% of their time, in America I'm talking about, 76% of the time of the Senate people spend their time raising more money for their next election rather than actually spending time on policy.
That's
76% of the time. That's nuts.
From a sociological position, there's a chicken and egg conundrum we have going on, at least in the United States, with that. What happened first? Unlimited corporate spending, or the fact that politicians need to depend on corporate spending just to run a successful campaign? It's a tough...
Yeah, so we have an issue here in the governance model, if we would put it in that context. And so this is not something I take lightly and want to really take time to how to mitigate that one. And it's a difficult one, because I also think if you solve it, you've got democracy 2.0. So, yeah.
I was going to say, that's not just a code problem that you'd be solving there.
No, much bigger. And in a way, this is also something that can't be solved, because you come down to the philosophical aspect of what is a good decision.
Yes.
How do you actually determine that? And you can't automate that one. That's why we're humans. And this is this is cutting the chase to why decentralized governance and governance in general, why is it so difficult to get a quality outcome?
We can automate the data collection, but we can't automate the decision making.
Here we go. Not for, yeah, exactly.
All right, and that brings us to what I think is our most challenging question yet. Of course, we saved this one for near the end. This one comes from my man Cyril Keir, who is himself a builder in the space. He works on multiple kind of index fund, blockchain index funds, smart contract projects. He's all over the place. So his question really does come in good faith, even if it reads quite skeptical. So
Sure.
Question 1. So if you're using things like yield changes, tokenomics changes for other tokens in the ecosystem to peg the value of the coin, what happens if the system goes poorly? He admits it's possible he missed us talking about this earlier, but I wanted to read that question out because it's just worded so artfully.
I kind of missed the last bit. If it goes what? If the system goes what?
Yeah, what happens if the system goes poorly? Something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because what
Well, I
goes
can
wrong?
phrase the question another way. Since it appears like you're using the value and yield and token changes for the 2 tokens to peg the 3rd, what happens if one or multiple elements of the balancing mechanism fall off?
Okay, now let's start off with that we're not pegging. And I know that this is a hard one to tackle, but we're not pegging. So in that sense, the reality is that there is space for the market value of DUCA to move. Now, let's qualify that one as well. There is no mechanism within the protocol or within the liquidity pools that at this point monitors the market value or influences that directly. What does that mean? If we look at normal stablecoin structures, then we've got a value that is pegged, which means if the value of the coin goes above its peg, you increase supply. If it goes below the peg, you decrease supply. That's the basic idea, right?
Yeah.
That is what we do not do. Okay, what do we do then? We adjust supplies. Okay, we adjust supplies. How? Because the fundamental thing is, if you adjust supplies, or when are you going to adjust, in what direction? So there is an internal reference value, an internal exchange value, which is the value of DUCA. That is based on algorithmic flow, that is maintaining purchasing power, and that internal value is being used as the value, because this is where the autonomy of the protocol comes into being, but does not necessarily has to be the market value of that. That's not being measured. The protocol doesn't care. Now, if supply increases above that internal value, then of course supply is reduced and vice versa. But that means there will be a delay, most likely, because it's just very reactive, right? It's not that we're on centralized exchanges. We've got a bunch of market makers and they're all paid to make sure that there's a deviation of 0 point whatever not. This is not how this works. This is decentralized. This is automated, fully automated. You can't. There are limitations, and the limitations I see as limitations, but not really. They are here now implemented or acknowledged. That's the more nicer term. They are acknowledged to create actually programmatic money and to create a model that is in accord, in alignment with that. So what do I mean? It's a reflexivity protocol, which means it's a dance with the market. If we go philosophical on money, and I'm quite surprised we haven't done that yet, Nexus, but let's do a little bit.
Oh boy.
Yeah, here we go. So if we want to get philosophical on money, then, oh boy, the aim is high. Because if we look at fiat currencies, and this is okay, long route danger coming up. If we look at fiat currencies, we say it's a free floating market or a free floating market value. But of course
that's
it's not.
Obviously not true. Markets have very strict trading hours, business day limitations, banking hours, etc.
So, thank you for cutting it short. That's bullshit. There is no free floating market. Yes, within bandwidth, but it's managed. I like the term dirty float because you don't know what's going on. You don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, but they're influencing their ass off. And there you are as Forex trader trying to make sense of it in a rigged game. Well, good luck with that. Not you, but the world. That doesn't work, or it works as it works, but that's not what we're after. We want a real free floating value. Holy shit. But that means it's really free floating. Oh, okay, it doesn't exist yet. Oh, okay. But that's what we're doing here. But then we shouldn't be scared if things change a little bit, if there is a little bit of movement going on, right? So the pure way to do it is to respond with supply changes. That's what we're doing here. No pegging. There we go. Okay, let's go back to the question. What goes wrong? The model is designed that, and of course we can speak about technical problems. What is a technical problem? Smart contract failure of some sort, a bug, and hack. We need to rule that one out because that's a category on its own. Of course, we're talking about functionally something not going the way it is intended to go. Yeah, of course, the problem with the unknown unknowns is always there. So it's hard to say when something goes wrong which you didn't know, because then you would have solved it. So I don't see that risk per se coming, but let's try to tackle it more in a bit of a general way. Let's say there is a reason for the market to exit whilst there is no reason to exit. Let's say the market starts running, people start exiting, and all that kind of stuff is happening. It will have an effect. I think the thing to understand is, or the difficulty to grasp is, and these names are not for nothing, so to say, a reflexivity protocol cares only about one thing, really. This is how in the white paper stability is also defined. It's not about maintaining a fixed price point, for example, for DUCA, hence a fixed market value or a peg. No, stability for a reflexivity protocol is about one thing only, and that is maintaining its function. It needs to keep on functioning. It needs to keep on doing the thing it's designed to do. So that's why I find it very difficult to answer, because here we have something that is designed to always maintain functioning no matter what. And then the question is, but what if it doesn't? Yeah, then it doesn't. But it does. And I think the interesting thing to grasp, because it is, of course, I get the question, it's a good question, but then it comes so much to the heart of this matter, is that, but that's exactly the thing. It took 6 years to build, so that wouldn't happen. And can give a few pointers, because the also, I think in the question it was referred to the dynamic values and yields going up and down.
Yes.
That is exactly what you need to have to ensure that the market can always adjust and respond, and the protocol vice versa. So it is that dynamic nature that allows for a very dynamic structure to always, in a way, align itself to the current market dynamics that makes it so sustainable and that it can't go wrong from a design perspective. And simply put, you need to make sure that as much as possible, values are dynamic and can be adjusted or automatically adjust in accordance to other values. And that's part of the design to make sure. And of course, can you guarantee? Now, I already earlier on gave an example that there are also fixed values. And the reason why we want to have control in the early days, that if we see that some of those fixed values really behave out of line, that we can adjust them. I'm not an idiot or a fool in that sense, and not perfect, to say the least. So it could be that things don't work in accordance to design and things go in that sense wrong, and then we fix them. I can't see that that will have a major impact in the sense of that it will collapse the model. Absolutely not. This is in the details, this is in the fine tuning. It may cause a hiccup, and this is all very theoretical, but I can imagine that things will need adjusting there. But for the rest, the model is very dynamic and designed to handle all those kind of intricacies, interwovenness between the different token holders. Absolutely. I don't know if I answered the question. I hope I did.
It's a tough question. And his second one is kind of a toughy follow-up with a quotation. He quotes an article that we've shared in the community, writing, "Note that DUCATA is not an algo stable. It uses an algorithmic approach to create a stable reference value on chain." Cyril writes, and then the article goes on to say that it maintains its value based on the DCM and LPD tokens, which gain their yield and value based on protocol performance. Please break down how that is any different from Terra-Luna and US Terracoin, because it's another way of wording the same thing. Brutal.
Silence.
Yeah. So the simple answer is okay. So I had to give this, no, not this, but the Terra-Luna thing from another context. I gave it some thought, and actually, I would like to create is it an analogy? No, let's say what we've got there, algorithmic stablecoin Terra-Luna. Here we go. Now imagine that if we compare this to a car. What happened here is that, let's say, not exactly true, but let's just keep it simple. Do Kwon built a car. Only the thing was, it was the first car, and we all think, oh, this is a car. But what it really was that it was like kind of this board with 4 wheels, and it had an engine. And the only thing you could do was give gas, and then it would keep on running. And if you would step on it and give it more gas, it would just acquire more speed. But there's no steering wheel, there's no brake, there's no nothing. And if you start driving that kind of car, it's inevitable that you're going to crash and you're going to get hurt and injured. Now, being the first car, people getting in that car and going through the experience got hurt, got injured. What happened now is that now we've got something called a car. We think it's a car, and we think cars are bad, cars are dangerous, rightly so. But here we have another car, but this car has airbags, steering wheel, brakes, rear view mirrors, and what have you nots, seat belts. And it's actually a car. But now you start saying to people, listen, we've got a car, and people are totally post-traumatic stressed about Terra-Luna, about their experience, about what they think is a car, and they keep on comparing it to this car, which wasn't a car. That's kind of the fundamental problem I always have when we go into the Terra-Luna comparison. because if you use the word algorithmic or whatever, we get lost in semantics and we get lost in all kinds of stuff, whilst you can't compare Terra-Luna to what we're talking about here. There is no... Do you still hear me? Sorry, my screen went off.
Yes.
Am I
Yes,
still...
we can still
Okay.
hear you.
So you can't compare the two. These are two different things. And this is a bit of a thing. So how sensitive are we to terms like algorithmic? Yeah, it's algorithmic. I have no problem with that. Many others have, but it is. But do you know how many things there are algorithmic? So what is now the real thing at hand? The thing at hand is that this is a very, very, very different structure. I mean, some people even think that Terra-Luna was collateralized. Many people have so many ideas about it, which is all wrong. And the thing that is clear, that you could say same, is that there is something that tries to create a stable value without the usage of exogenous collateral, something that's outside the protocol. And in that sense, 100% the same. If you use that criteria, it is the same, because that's the challenge. That's, for me, the key way to get to the objective. That is very high scalability and solving the stablecoin trilemma. So, whether we speak about stablecoin, algorithmic stablecoin, if we call it programmatic money, I've got very clear reasons to say this is different. The non-pegging, now we spoke all about it, no need to repeat any further. But if you really want to get nitty-gritty about Terra-Luna versus DUCA, and isn't it the same? No, it's not. The structure is completely different. And I can explain that. I can take that further if we want to go into that direction.
Well, if I put a side by side, just straight up, of Terra-Luna's entire workflow diagram next to DUCA's workflow diagram, it does appear that theirs was kind of simple stupid, whereas what you have going on here is quite a good deal more nuanced.
Absolutely. That's a very simple way of putting it. It's very nuanced, but also this is where the initial thing, if I speak about the three most core fundamental attributes about DUCA, but also that sets DUCA apart from Terra-Luna. It's the triple token economy to remove the symbiotic relationship. It is the rebase incentive structure that creates the possibility to, that creates another possibility, let's keep it simple, and the lender of last resort. And these three combined create an alternative or a model that is on a whole lower level. Yeah, that's just why it is. But yeah, without the usage of exogenous collateral, and that's just the way we like it. Because you can't do this. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Does this help? Have I answered the question, sort of, or not?
I believe so.
I think there's an obvious difference that is very quickly overlooked. That is that in DUCA, you cannot mint or burn DUCA at will, whereas with UST, the mint and burn mechanism was accessible to everyone. So
yes,
I think there lies a really big obvious difference. But yeah, the rest of it is much more nuanced. I see people saying they would love to see a side by side. So I'm writing this down for our team to see if we can get on this somehow.
Yes, and any discussion of Terra-Luna is incomplete without sort of explaining the mint-burn differential here, and how DUCA's system is truly like out of the... Once it's out there, it'll be out of the designer's hands. Whereas with Terra-Luna, it was not only really in the designer's hands, but also everyone else's too.
I mean, it's so easy to overlook. I mean, the mint and burn mechanism if you just take 2 minutes to understand what happens if you a little bit of price pressure on your stable coin, and the incentive or the model to stabilize is to send it into the protocol so that it starts to create out of thin air an equal amount of lunas to the market value you send in, increasing the supply. And I mean, this is death spiral, and this is not rocket science. I mean,
Yes.
if you understand this, then you know you need to exit right then, right there, because you know if you exit, the price goes down and you can get in on a lower price point. So it's so simple, and yet, it's so simple. And this is, of course, impossible to have, but this is the fundament. This is the whole model here. Now let's take another example of how this is different. Because if we got, for example, DUCA, of course, as a protocol, and there would be price pressure on DCM, which will happen, is inevitable, will be normal, there's no problem whatsoever. We've got a thing called clean float. What the hell's clean float? Well, clean float is kind of our version of what central banks do in terms of capital in and outflow management. It's how they keep stuff stable, because after all, there's already algorithmic money, right? Fiat is algorithmic, euro, it's all algorithmic. What else is it? How does this work? It basically means, let's zoom out. What is the problem if you've got a Terra-Luna model where demand kind of is under pressure for your UST, and let's say prices drop below the peg, so due to the repegging, UST is being sent in, and there's an increase of lunas on the market. You've got a problem because your number one use case is going down, symbiotic relationship, and the response to stabilize is inflate the utility demand that is in a way supporting or causing your backing. What could possibly go wrong, right? Now, what is now, if we look at it from an economic perspective, what is now going wrong is that you need to have an increase in demand for this particular asset, but what you're doing is you're flooding the market whilst you're not doing anything about demand, hence death spiral. How do we do this differently? This is where the third token comes into being. This is where the stability fee comes into being. Clean float is basically based on Fibonacci retracement levels, and it identifies 7 levels based on those levels from 0 to 100%. What is 0 to 100%? We've got an all-time high, so we've got normal market value dynamics all the way to the par value. Now, a few details, but par value is our minimum critical value. That kind of not only supports the normal level of collateralization, but let's keep it simple for now. This is an important value, the par value, which we do not want to go below.
I'm going to I found an image, a super extra stupid simple image that explains what Terra-Luna was. I'm going to pull it from Bit Degree here and put it next to an image of the DUCA system. So you can click each one and you can get a big pull-up view of the difference between these two. It's substantive, to say the least.
Right. I'm not seeing anything, but you're...
I put it in the AMA chat for anyone who wanted to see. Yeah, Spicy just painted there.
I tagged him so he can find it, hopefully.
See, I'm so... You have no idea.
Designed a revolutionary money model, but Discord, oof.
But you can see, just looking at the Terra-Luna model, that the market pricing and the situation going on 24 hours a day on chain versus the exchange rates were supposed to be held by the minting and burning of the token. And essentially, when it's discounted, that's when you would trade in your stables and mint it. If the stables are depegged, then you trade in the Luna and you mint the stables. So it was a system that everyone could use and everyone could participate in, And by giving that power to literally everyone, there was a big leverage game that was played that unwound the entire protocol.
Fantastic. Yeah.
All right.
Do we need to add?
I guess that leaves us with our... Yes, and Cyril also adds, obviously the Terra-Luna system was an open-to-attack vector by someone with sufficient capital, which spoke to the vulnerabilities in terms of capital governance that we talked about earlier, and why you're not a fan of that.
Exactly.
All right, and that brings us to our final question from Arthax. I love you, buddy. I'm happy you were able to make it. How does DUCATA plan to achieve interoperability with other blockchain networks, and what strategic partnerships are in place or that you might be pursuing to enhance the functionality and adoption of the DUCATA platform?
Now, in terms of interoperability, I think it's limited. No, I don't call it limited actually. Multi-chain strategy. So we not necessarily want to be interoperable, but we want to be present on other chains and layer 2s. So what this means is that because we like things native, we like things autonomous and bridges and all kinds of additional, how shall we put it, intermediary things I'm not so a fan of, especially not due to the complexity of the workings. I mean, imagine that you need to transfer this kind of data in the workings through other chains or other layer 1, so to say. So that's all crazy stuff. We want it autonomous, we want to have it on a specific chain, and I also isolate. You don't want to have any contamination if something happens on another chain. So that's definitely the strategy, which also means this also means that each chain can have its own dynamic. A DUCA yield can be very different on one chain to another because of the market dynamics that is different. So I think that's really nice. It's part of it goes well with the vision behind the reflexivity protocol. What doesn't change is the maximum supply of utility tokens for DCM. That will always be 1 in the max. So if utility tokens go to one chain, then they can't go to another chain. That's pretty clear. That will also make a bit of a combination that for the more chains DUCA will enter, of course, the more demand for DCM there will be, so that's very nice. And the DUCA exchange value, our algorithmic flow, that will also be chain agnostic and will be the same everywhere.
Very cool.
Did I answer that?
I do believe so. Your answer did... Oh, wait a minute. I believe I might have missed you, Mahar. Did I miss Mahar? Yeah, it looks like I missed you, Mahar. I apologize. Mahar had a question. What other utility does DCM have other than stabilizing the DUCA protocol? Why is DCM an ERC20? Why rather than another network?
Why not another network? I think I missed it.
Yeah, he asks what other utility does the DCM token have other than stabilizing the protocol?
Okay, well that's indeed the general term. So that's what it does. There is no other utility in that sense, but if we look at it specifically, then there are different functions. So it's needed to create DUCA, for example. So the minting is important. It's there to provide liquidity in the stability pool. But it's all under the one header of stability token. That's its function, but that acts out in multiple ways. So there are multiple reasons why there is demand for DCM. So if DUCA goes up, then demand for DCM goes up. If there's also an interconnectedness, if DUCA's demand goes up, market cap grows, the minimum stability pool size goes up. So demand for LPD goes up, which means demand for DCM goes up. And these are just simple. These are mechanisms that are in place so that for whatever happens in the protocol, generally speaking, DCM is needed.
Okay.
But the function, of course, is limited, obviously, to the protocol itself. There's no function outside the protocol, but I hope that's obvious at this stage. I do, by the way, have different ideas about the long-term future, but that's a different topic.
No
We're not
worries.
there.
Our final question then. How does the rewards mechanism for LPD holders work? I know we mentioned earlier in the stream that LPD holders will kind of just see rewards coming straight to the wallet, almost like an airdrop.
Yeah, are we talking? Sorry, which token are we talking about?
The LPD token.
Okay, yeah. So with LPD it's slightly different in the sense of now your LPDs are your LPDs. That's not a rebase token. However, the value of LPD is based on the liquidity in the stability pool. Now, DCM is in there for sure, and DUCA can be in there as well, which means the total liquidity in relation to the outstanding LPD tokens determine its value, and that is defined by what we call the LP rate, liquidity pool rate. So the rate is basically the price, and the price is expressed in DCM. So let's say we've got an LP rate of 4, doesn't matter, we can take any number, and I come in with 1 DCM, no, with 4 DCM, and I get 1 LPD in return. Now I've got my 1 LPD and its price is 4. Any changes within the stability pool due to the incentive structure, the various fees, have an influence. So there are mechanisms that make the value or the liquidity in the stability pool go up, and there are influences that make it go down. So
Wow,
I can go to
it's not every day that we actually get breaking news in the middle of the live stream. But yes, it's breaking news. The US House has passed a bill to ban the Federal Reserve from creating its own CBDC. Incredible. And relevant to you guys.
It's very good news for the world.
When DUCA world domination, Patrick?
Yeah. Well, first I get through the AMA. But yeah, no, I'm not a fan of CBDCs, not from a competition point of view or whatever, but from a privacy point of view, I think it's the worst that can ever happen. So pass these bills. Fantastic.
As long as the car stays on the road. I'm with Sarge on that.
Right?
We were talking about LPD.
Yes, we were talking about LPD. Apologies.
LPD. Thank you. No worries. LPD, value LPD, incentives. So there's a lot going on there. Well, let's not exaggerate. There's various fees. Some are plus, some are minus. So let's take a simple example. We've got fees generating and yield generating from our liquidity pools, from the DMM. That all goes into the operating fund, right? Why? Because we need to pay gas fees. So there is an internal business model or revenue thing that creates value that is being used to pay the bills. And the bills in this case is the gas fee bill. Now, does it mean that there's always sufficient funds? No, because you can't guarantee. We already went through the examples or an idea that could go very different. So there needs to be a safety net, safety pin, which is what we call the operating fee. What does it mean? If the amount of liquidity in the operating fund, so the amount we need to keep the funds, the protocol operating goes below a certain minimum threshold value, then it needs to be adjusted. Now, not adjusted, increased. And this is where the operating fee comes in. So somebody needs to pay the bill. In this case, it is the stability pool. hence the LPD owners. They're paying the bill. It's what it is. Now, this goes only one way, right? They will never get any money back to the stability pool where this is concerned. If it's being charged, doesn't have to be, but if it is charged, ECM is going to the operating fund. A clear example of a fee that LPD owners are paying. Now, then we take another example. This is a complicated one. Maybe we shouldn't do that one. But
yeah, I don't want to keep you too much longer. This has been a really incredible conversation. There's so much to digest. I mean, I know I alone am going to have to go back and listen to this a couple times to really take in what this has going on here. But with that, I am very pleased to present the final portion of today's show, which is the question reward portion.
yay.
I need your help, guys. Now, Sifu, I'll walk you through it. In the DUCATA AMA chat channel that we've been talking in, there's a little pin at the top. If you go to that pinned messages, I want you to scroll through, because every pinned message has been a user who followed our rules and is eligible for rewards. I have 5 prizes to give out to people, and I need your help to pick our 5 winners. This is arguably the most arduous portion of the show, because the questions are so good that it is very difficult to select winners.
Great. And where again can I find this?
Yes,
Sorry
so
about
no worries. In the DUCATA AMA chat, assuming you're on a PC or desktop device, there
Yeah.
will
Tagged
be...
him.
Yeah, at the top of the panel, you'll see a couple icons like threads, notifications, members list. One of those is a push pin. That's the pinned messages. You click
Got
that,
it.
and you can scroll through, and you can see this is every question you were asked today.
Jeez.
Yes. Now, I have 5 prizes to give out to these very worthy users. I can't say no one is unworthy because everyone asked great questions.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna ask for some help here. Spicy.
I was about to say, I think we started off super strong with rum, so I would definitely go with rum gone, actually.
Okay. Good choice. Good choice.
And I had been waiting a long time for Cyril. I'm not going in order, by the way.
Yeah, no.
I'd been
There's
waiting a while for Cyril, so
there's
I'd
no
definitely
preference.
Cyril.
There's no particular order. Everyone is equal participants here.
Then let's see who else. What else do we have?
We got 3 more to pick.
I actually think Mike H was very nice because he really addressed programmatic money versus currency, and that's an angle that we haven't really heard before.
Oh yes, good choice. Mike's a great attendee. We see him at a lot of our shows.
I see you, Cyril. I'm saying Cyril, but if I would say it in Dutch, I would say Cyril. So maybe that's the right way. I don't know.
No, it's Cyril. His is pronounced Cyril with a hard Y. Yeah.
Then I would say Zux W. We've seen you in the chat the whole time. Thank you so much for your support. That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, good choice. Good choice. At least 1 prize winner left. We got Rum, Cyril, Mike, Zux.
I want to say P.R. Thomas because it's a very valid question that gold has indeed been a good way to avoid inflation. And the question of why not gold, but why DUCA? So P.R.
Yes.
Thomas.
Absolutely. You got it. Great choices, guys. And thank you to all
Sorry
users
for
who
everyone else that
submitted.
we didn't choose.
Yeah, we only have so many prizes every show to give away. There are times when I genuinely wish I could just reward everyone, which is partially why there's airdrops strewn throughout the show, to make sure like even people with no questions, who are just want to hear to listen, learn about the tech, get a little airdrop for themselves as well. But with that, we have our winners for today. Congratulations. Congratulations to all of our winners. Thank you all so very much. I always take a snapshot of my winners because sometimes they're the same people all the time, and I have to vary that up to make sure it's not always the same 5 dudes winning every time. But in this case, this group is great. They're great, diverse members of the community. Congratulations to every one of our winners. And I will get you taken care of momentarily. And with that, that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you so much to Team DUCATA, Sifu, and Spicy Berries for joining us today. Thank you so much to the community, both on Discord and on Twitch. We had a record turnout on Twitch. There were dozens of people on there. I've actually never seen so many people on there before, so that I'm so pleased that everybody made time to turn out for this. I hope you found it valuable. I hope you learned at least a little bit about how we research and look into projects. And I would encourage any listeners who are not a member of the Discord server on Twitch to please come out to the Discord server. We're a tight-knit group of very friendly people who are mostly interested in helping protect you in this wide, wild environment.
I would also like to add that we're always very happy to answer any questions that might not have been asked in the AMA, or you might not have researched beforehand and now you are going to. We're very happy, whether it's in our Discord. I'm also in the Wolves of Wall Street Discord, of course, so I'm more than happy to help anyone out. We have an ongoing pre-sale. If you're interested and convinced, then check that out as well. And thank you so much, Nexus, for hosting this. This has been really fun. I know Patrick went really hard on this, and it's really nice to go in depth on the protocol with an AMA like this. So thank you.
Absolutely. And later on, this will be uploaded to YouTube with all of the respective documentation and links about the project, including a link to the pre-sale, if that's something you're interested in. And I would recommend you guys go ahead and share that with the community, just in case people are interested and want to check it out and see how it works.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Nex. It was a pleasure.
Thank y'all very much. And with that, we are out.